we go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. What's up? Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. It is great to be back with you one more time again. It's Monday, baby, which means we got all the energy in the world. We are ready to rock and roll. Tougher than Big E's neck. That's me, Alonzo.
Yeah, that's saying a lot.
My guy. Oh, fractured multiple bones in his neck, including the C1, which I learned because I read it and I trust the internet because everything on the internet is true. The C1 is the last vertebrae where your major nerves in your spinal column run through. Christopher Reeves, the old Superman, he also broke his C1 and it left him paralyzed from the neck down. That was a real concern. But my man's tweeting through it.
And doesn't have to have surgery. So, I mean, that's an amazing thing.
Seems big.
Yeah. But have we seen him for the last time in the ring?
I don't know, man. Been a lot of guys that have had to leave for similar injuries. We will find out. We're going to talk about that later on in the show because it was let's just say, it was a great weekend for wrestling fans, y'all. Great weekend for wrestling fans, with the exception of that. We'll talk about that later in the show. But I'm going to do something I never do, Lonzo. I'm going to start the lunch breakdown very early because we have a ton of stuff to get through. So, ladies and gentlemen, we forego the usual pleasantries and off-the-wall conversation in favor of this.
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
It is the lunch breakdown. The three things you have to know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, coworker, or the dog. Whoever you spend your lunch break with. When you gather around the lunch table to talk sprots, this will be the scuttlebutt. These will be the three things that you need to know in order to do said sporting conversation. We start with item number one. Tom Brady decided to personally troll Lonzo. He said, it's been a month and a half. I've been sitting at the house with Giselle and the kids, listening to the Rob Brown Show on my multiple Alexas. I say, Alexa, play the Rob Brown Show every day at noon in Tampa. I listen to 3 hours. And you know what? I've had enough of Lonzo's smart aleck mouth popping off about me. I'm coming back for one more. And the GOAT will be on the field for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers one more time in 2022. Lonzo, how do you feel about that news? Rob asked with hilarity in his voice.
All right, this is not a surprise, the selfishness of this guy. This guy wants to show, hey, I'm bigger than anything going on in sports. Watch this NCAA tournament. I'm going to come back from retirement and show how unimportant basketball is compared to me. So disappointing. I mean, you can let people have their March Madness, and you had to kill the madness by putting your face everywhere.
I gotta tell you, man. I am very interested to see what Brady in 2022 looks like, right? Not just because he will be 45, because clearly at 44 he was in the running for the MVP. So I'm sure he's still got it. I don't think it's going to fall off the map completely in a half a year off of football. But more along the lines of, what does Tampa do now, right? Gronk's a free agent. Dominic Sue's a free agent. Leonard Fournette's a free agent. Jason Pierre-Paul is a free agent. They got to restructure the offensive line. It's not like Brady's walking back into a team that just won the Super Bowl, right? Granted, good run into the playoffs. But it is not like they just exited a Super Bowl berth. It's not like they just exited the the best run. That was the year before. And they've had some turnover since that point. So I'm kind of interested. To see how this shapes up, to see what Brady looks like. My favorite part, trolling aside, is, trolling of Lonzo aside, is that Tom Brady decided to re-enter the league hours after someone, somewhere, spent a full fortune to purchase the last football thrown for a touchdown in the NFL by Tom Brady. A private auction purchaser bought Tom Brady's last touchdown football for $518,628 at an auction. And then hours later, Brady's like, nah, run it back. I got one more. Lonzo, how you feel if you spent over a $500 million sitting on $518 million and some change? You spent $518,000 to get Tom Brady's last touchdown. Hours later, Brady goes, nah, it wasn't though. It really wasn't though.
Yeah, you're right. Speaking of trolling, first he trolls the NCAA tournament, then that might actually have been the motivation. You know, he saw that the ball sold for that much, and he's like, yeah, watch this. Really, when it comes down to it, though, if you have that kind of disposable income, I'm sure it wasn't some conglomeration of businesses to put together the money to buy this. This is some rich dude that bought this. He's used to taking losses, so I'm sure he's all right.
I just got to say, if you got $518 million, was it million?
No, it's thousand.
It was $1,000. Okay,
yeah,
so half a mil. 518,000. Sorry, that's a ridiculous number. It's still ridiculous. All right, $518,000 to throw at a football because a dude touched it. Right? I'm sure $518,000 is playday money for you, right? Like, I can't imagine, Zoe, the dude's got $520,000 in the bank, and he's like, yeah, this is once in a lifetime, though, right?
Here's the thing about it, though. So it's not worth as much, but it's pretty famous now.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It's the last touchdown ball thrown by Tom Brady before he retired, before he unretired to throw a bunch more touchdowns.
So it's more famous now because everyone's talking about it.
It's just true.
We have no idea who it is,
Nope.
but still.
But the thing is, like, you purchase that football because you know it's going to appreciate in price, right? You purchase that football at $518K because you know 30 years from now, when Brady's, well, I was going to say dead, but Brady will be like 75, so he won't be dead. He'll probably still be playing. But you buy that ball because you know in 30 years when Brady's in the Hall of Fame and all the documentaries have been finished, et cetera, that ball's going to be worth $1 million, right? Like, you've doubled the value of it, except for nope. Maybe this is the woke liberal in me, Lonzo, but I don't feel bad for the financial woes of a cat that spent $500,000 on a football. All right? I just don't. I can't. Tom Brady's coming back. Breaking news.
All right, so you may think this is trivial, but this could maybe leading to something else. The Carolina Panthers are cutting pass rusher Morgan Fox, which clears up. Let's see. This clears more cap space, $2 million, if now $3 million post June. So, wonder why they'd be freeing up cap space. I don't know.
They are cutting Morgan Fox. By the way, breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Go to BetQL.com or check out all the outstanding BetQL content on the Odyssey Podcasting Network, including Joe Giglio, who joins us every Tuesday at 1:30, which we will have him on tomorrow. And yeah, we're going to give you the guide to betting March Madness. By the way, estimated, Lonzo, that Americans will bet upwards of $3.1 billion on the tournament as a country. $3.1 billion going into the kitty on March Madness.
By the way, quick programming note, 3-day week for us because we are wall-to-wall NCAA basketball starting on Thursday.
You know who else is in the market? Nobody! You want college basketball? You want, oh, and by the way, we can say this. March Madness. March Madness. The only place to get it, ladies and gentlemen, is right here on ESPN Upstate. You're welcome. You are welcome. So we'll be off Thursday and Friday. Thursday, I will be at the Well Scouting practice of Auburn and Michigan State, Duke, Miami, Jacksonville State, Cal State, Fullerton. Come in. Can they be the Cinderella? Can they end Coach K's fight? No, but we're going to see. Speaking of the Panthers, also expected to let Hassan Reddick, Stephen Gilmore, and Dante Jackson all test the free agency market, which means all three of those cats are going to be signing somewhere else too. Hey, Carolina, blink twice if you're being held hostage. Is everything okay in Charlotte? I don't know if you know this, Lonzo, but the four names we just mentioned, Fox, Reddick, Gilmore, and Jackson, kind of your best four defensive players, and you're just like, you guys can, if you want to. Let me tell you something. If you're the nerdy guy in class and the head cheerleader says she'll go to prom with you, you know what you don't say to her? I mean, if you want to go see if any of the football players want to take you out, I'm cool with that. No! You lock it down, and you lock it down early, son. We're going to come back to that later on in the show because I got 3 more lunch breakdown. We got 4 on the lunch breakdown today. Number 1, Tom Brady coming back. Number 2, ladies and gentlemen, Deshaun Watson announced last Friday will not face criminal charges. The grand jury convened on Friday to hear out Texas prosecutors to see if it was fair or not to put Deshaun Watson up against criminal charges, said that there was not enough evidence there. In a statement made after the announcement was made, Watson's attorney, Rusty Hardin, said, quote, now that the criminal investigations have completed, we are happy to move forward with the civil case depositions. We will vigorously defend these cases with every ounce we have, end quote. So how does this work now? He will not face criminal charges. That aspect is done, which also means that it is far more likely that Deshaun Watson will find multiple suitors in the NFL potentially for a trade. One of those teams that has already submitted a trade offer, the New Orleans Saints, have already called Houston, put their offer on the table. They have scheduled or are going to schedule a meeting with Deshaun to see if they would be a fit. Carolina is also in the mix as well. We've known that since last year, that Carolina is going all in, pushing all the chips in the middle to try to make a deal for Deshaun. Will it go through? Will it not? We'll find out. Carolina setting a meeting to talk with Deshaun as well. Seattle is in that mix, as are about 6 other NFC teams. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. Now, the second part of this conversation. Deshaun not facing criminal charges does not mean that Sean will be available week 1 for whatever team ends up making the trade for him. There is still the potential for an NFL suspension. The league's investigation and Watson's interview with the league will likely play a big part in whether or not he is disciplined by Roger Goodell. Last season, with the criminal investigation ongoing, Goodell opted not to restrict Watson from taking part in team activities. He reported to training camp. He did practice for some bit before he was a healthy scratch for the duration of the season while staying on the roster. The Texans are now at a spot where they still have the trade rights for Deshaun, but Deshaun still has the no trade clause. That is to say, Deshaun has some level of pick and where he ends up going, though it is not for sure that the Texans will agree with him and may be very well willing to just let him waste away on the roster one more year. I doubt it. There's too much value in making a trade between New Orleans, Seattle, Carolina, potentially Pittsburgh, and a host of other teams that will be in the mix. Somebody is going to have a organization Deshaun is willing to accept a trade to. But that team is going to have to be set at quarterback because it is likely, though not definite, that Deshaun will still catch a suspension down the line because those civil suits are not done. They can be settled at any point. At any point, Deshaun can offer money to the 22 people who have brought a suit against him and make them go away. If the plaintiffs agree to that settlement, that could happen at any point. We don't know how it's going to play out. We have heard in the past that some of them are not willing to settle despite there already having been an offer on the table. How those civil suits play out may determine what Deshaun's 2022 season looks like, but we do know he will not face criminal charges. And now we know that there are at least 6 teams that have already either submitted or put together a trade offer for Deshaun Watson.
Do we know, are these individual civil suits or is this like one case?
Oh, no, they are 22 different suits.
Okay. All right.
Now, they are all being brought by one attorney, but they are all being brought separately, is my
Which means they could all be tried separately or settled separately.
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely correct. You may have 10 of the women take a settlement and the other 12 say, no, I want to bring this all the way to trial, right? We don't know. We don't know how it's going to play out, and that's part of why this situation is still so touch and go. Item number 3 on the lunch breakdown. Yesterday, Selection Sunday, our men's and women's brackets were revealed, and no shock to you, ladies and gentlemen, the Lady Gamecocks are the number 1 overall seed in the women's tournament. They lost 2 games this year. They lost 1 in the regular season in the SEC. They lost 1 the SEC tournament championship finals. Now, the Lady Gamecocks, it was thought would end up in a spot that they might drop down, not out of a 1 seed, but just out of the number 1 overall seed. And the number 1 overall seed, obviously with the easiest path to the Final Four, they will open on March 18th with the winner of the Howard and Incarnate Women's College game, that second round game on March 20th. Also on March 18th, Miami takes on South Florida in a whatever it is, I think 75, but I'm not sure, rivalry of Florida teams. The winner of that game will get South Carolina, assuming they win the 116 matchup in round 2. If South Carolina knocks off whatever South Florida team they play, Miami or USF, then they will get the winner in the Sweet 16 of North Carolina, the 5 seed, Stephen F. Austin, the 12 seed, Arizona, the 4 seed, or UNLV, the 13 seed. Win that, it's on to the Elite 8, where they will get the last team standing from Georgia versus the winner of Dayton DePaul. Number 3, Iowa State and Texas Arlington. Number 7, Colorado versus number 10, Creighton. And number 2, Iowa versus number 15, Illinois State. Win that, and it's on to the Final Four. We'll take a deeper look at that later on in the show. And while we're at it, the men's bracket has dropped as well. Gonzaga gets the number 1 overall seed out in the West region. Arizona with the number 1 seed out of the South region. Kansas is your number 1 seed out of the Midwest region, and out of the East, Baylor is the number 1 overall seed. Auburn was fighting for a number 1 seed, but they fall to the number 2 seed. They will take on Jacksonville State right here at the Well in Greenville, South Carolina. Also out of the Midwest, USC and Miami will get it on in the opening round. The Trojans and the Hurricanes will play their first game and second game at the Well. Over on the other side of the bracket, we also know the other 4 teams competing here in Greenville. The number 7 seed, Michigan State, Sparty and the Spartans, Tom Izzo's team, will take on a very Gabe Davidson team. Keep an eye on that. That's a possible 7-10 upset that could happen right here in Greenville. And underneath them, out of the West bracket, Duke and Cal State Fullerton will open up in Greenville. The winner of Michigan State Davidson will take on the winner of Duke and Cal State Fullerton. The winner of USC versus Miami will take on the winner of Auburn and Jacksonville State. All of those games right here in Greenville, South Carolina. We're going to break the bracket down later on in the show. Boys and girls, we are very busy today, so I hope you'll stay tuned. I hope you strap in because we are about to have some fun. My name is Rob Brown. The great one Lonzo is at the helm, and you, my friends, are listening to the Rob Brown Show right here on ESPN Upstate. Let me tell you about my friends at Harley Davidson of Greenville, ladies and gentlemen. I've been riding my motorcycle for coming up on 8 years now, according to my Facebook memories, I believe. Purchased mine about 8 years ago, and the only regret that I have about buying a motorcycle is that I wasn't here in Greenville when I decided to do so, and I wasn't here to make my purchase from Harley Davidson of Greenville because I have watched the buying process at a Harley Davidson of Greenville. I have seen it go through step by step, and I can tell you they make it easy, folks. They make it easy regardless of the level of rider that you are. If you are a novice, brand new to the game, just Joey B picking up some O-linemen. I love it.
Huh. Dolly Parton bows out of her nomination for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I don't care. Put her in anyway. It's not up to her.
Huh. So she's kind of slamming him in a way.
Yeah.
Even though I'm extremely flattered and grateful to be nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I don't feel that I have earned that right. I really do not want votes to be split because of me, so I must respectfully bow out. I do hope that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will understand and be willing to consider me again if I'm ever worthy. This has, however, inspired me to put out a hopefully great rock and roll album at some point in the future, which I've always wanted to do. My husband is a total rock and roll freak and has always encouraged me to do one. I wish all the nominees good luck and thank you again for the compliment. Rock on. So what she's saying is what we've all been saying. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame should have rock and roll people in it. She's saying she's not rock and roll, so she shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
I think at this point, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is just the Music Hall of Fame.
Which means they'll vote her in anyway. This is just a clever.
They'll give her an honorary.
This is a clever ploy on her behalf to get herself voted in.
Dolly does not think.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I know.
I will allow a lot of jokes, but not at the cost of besmirching the great name of Queen Parton.
Hey, no one's out of bounds here. But anyway.
Except Dolly Parton. And,
okay.
And Mr. Rogers and Bob Ross.
And Mr. Rogers is creepy, man. He was always creepy.
No, you're wrong.
When he was on my TV, I'm like, I can't watch that. Give me Captain Kangaroo any day.
So this isn't really pressing so much as I just think it's awesome. Colton Gothier. Colton Gothier.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% sure. And you'll know why in just a second, right? Because I've heard his last name pronounced 100 different ways. But
Gothier.
It's Colton Gothier. Is a quarterback for the Gamecocks of South Carolina. Going to be in a backup role, obviously, with Spencer Rattler transferring in. But young Colton is about to get some cheddar lining the wallet because it was announced earlier today, and what I think is awesome, that Colton has decided to take advantage of the NIL situation in a way that nobody else has yet. Colton Gothier is going to, on Friday, April 9th, Lonzo, is going to play a virtual concert online for South Carolina Gamecocks fans. For $10, you can buy a ticket to watch Colton Gothier play a 30-minute guitar show, and while he's at it, before, during, and after, interact with Gamecock football fans who purchase a $10 ticket. Now, I don't know what percentage of the revenue that Colton Gothier is going to be getting out of this, but I do know it is the first I've seen. Colton is a lifelong guitar player, a guitar playist. What is wrong with me?
Hi, I'm a guitar playist. I'm here to playist the guitar.
Is a lifetime guitar player and a very accomplished one from what I understand. And courtesy of a clip that I found this morning, I was looking around because I thought to myself, I want to watch a little bit of this kid, right? Let's see. Jason Brown's gone. Luke Doty's hobbled. Don't know if Colton is going to be the second or third quarterback, but I'm going to see what kind of head this guy's got on his shoulders, right? And I came across a press conference from October of last season, mid-season, a post-practice presser where Colton Gothier was on the podium speaking to the media. Now, I told you he's a guitar player, and I told you that a lot of people have problems mispronouncing his name. His presser opened with those two things.
How's it going, Colton? Two questions. One, is that an original Les Paul? And two, is it yours or did you borrow it from somebody?
Yep, to answer your question, that's original Les Paul, limited edition 2013 run. And no, that is mine. I've been saving up for that one since middle school. So that was kind of a dream come true for me. A great question. Way to start this thing off. Nice.
Colton, two things. I don't know if you heard this. They were going back and forth on how you pronounced your name, and they just wanted to be able to have it on record. So can you at least say your last name?
Yeah, it's Gothier. It's, no French, or there's no like fancy way to say it. It's like Gothier. It's like just Gothier, it's pretty basic. I've had people mess up my last name my whole life. So if y'all do, it don't really offend me at all. I'm okay.
Cleveland Browns, that we are going to be, just have the glass, Control-C, Control
I am.
V.
I had it. No, but I thought we'd play the audio first.
The Browns have released wide receiver Jarvis Landry, probably for salary cap concerns. He will no longer be catching footballs from Baker Mayfield. Breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL, BetQL.com, or download their podcast on the BetQL network and the Odyssey podcast network, including BetQL Daily.
Will he be signed by the Buccaneers before the end of the day?
No, and I'll tell you why. I think Jarvis Landry, let me phrase that, possibly, unless Deshaun Watson signs with New Orleans and then he goes back. He's a New Orleans kid, right? So if Deshaun signs with the Saints, Jarvis Landry will follow him there. There's my prediction. All right, we'll come back to that in a minute. I love that. So I love that sound from Colton.
See, I was going to ask you, okay, he's doing a live concert. What kind of concert is it? He's got a Les Paul. Is this rock? What is it?
I don't know. And I'm kind of interested by that, right? Now, I will tell you this. Right after I tweeted out this morning, right? I tweeted out that I put up a video on Facebook Live talking about it. And then I put out a tweet that said, last October, Colton, in a presser, told a reporter that he had saved up since middle school for a Gibson Les Paul 2013 limited edition, and that it was a dream of his to own. Now my dude is getting that cheddar to play music. I love it. Good for him. I like this kid. And he replied to me moments ago on Twitter, Lonzo, with the rock and roll horns up emoji. All right. I like this kid.
Case you're watching, Colton. Rock on, dude.
I like this kid. All right. I just sent him a tweet back that said, hey man, if you ever want to come on the show and talk about guitars and music, you let me know how to make that happen and I'll do it. So we'll see if Colton gets back with me to come on the show. Because though, anybody who knows me knows that there are a handful of topics that I really like to talk more than anything else. Music and guitars are at the top of that list, right? Music. I'm a Fender guy. He's a Gibson guy. And that's okay. We live in a world where people are allowed to be different. I'm a Stratocaster guy. He's a Les Paul guy. I will tell you that my dream guitar, the last guitar I will ever buy, is the Gibson Les Paul Zakk Wylde Signature Edition. I love the feel of that guitar. I love the speed
like
of that
the
guitar.
Flying V thing? Or
No, it's a standard Les Paul body.
Okay.
That's one.
Yes.
It's a standard Les Paul body, but it's got Zakk Wylde setup in it, and the paint scheme is like a bullseye on the body, a black and white bullseye on the body. It's a good-looking guitar, but it's a great sounding guitar. It's the perfect mix of crunch when you need it and scream when you're going to solo. Now, I don't solo, so I don't need it, but I just really want it because it's got a great rock and roll sound to it. I am a Strat guy. The next guitar I buy is going to be the 50th anniversary Telecaster. Looking forward to the day that I can pick up one of those. But in the meantime, the Les Paul's the last guitar I'll ever buy, and Colton's a Les Paul guy. And now, in the NIL world, there is an organization in Colombia called the Garnet Trust, okay? The Garnet Trust is a non-university affiliated organization that is set up to help Gamecock athletes take advantage of the NIL world that we all live in now. And the Garnet Trust is who put this together for Colton Gothier. They put this thing together. So Colton Gothier is going to hop online on April 9th. He's going to play 30. He says 30 minutes. I don't know about you, Lonzo. I have never had a concert that goes the length of time that my band has said it's going to go. It's never happened.
Well, especially if there's like talking in between and
yeah.
you know, things like that, maybe interaction with the people who are tuning in. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as the hype man of the band, the guy who talks between songs, if we say it's a 4-hour show, you're getting 4.5.
Wait. You're the guy who talks?
My guitar's not even on most of our songs. All right. I'm just there to entertain between songs. I'm like the Flav of shenanigans.
Now we're going to have to go back through the videos of you and see if you were actually playing that thing.
I love this for the kid, right? I love the Garnet Trust and what they've done. They said, all right, here's the deal. The NIL world, you don't have to like it. You do have to love it. Welcome to the new world. And the Garnet Trust set up this organization so that guys like Colton Gothier could go out there and make it happen. So now Colton's going to play a 30-minute online concert. They're going to sell tickets for $10. That's $10 to pop into this thing, to watch Colton play some guitar, and to talk to him about South Carolina football. So I got to tell you, though, if we called the Garnet, and we might now, but if we called the Garnet Trust and they said, yeah, we can get Colton on with her for an interview, cost you $10, that's fine by me.
I thought at 5. We can split it. I'm good with that.
Yeah. So now you spend $10. You get to pop in, listen to my guy play some guitar, get to know your backup quarterback, listen to him talk South Carolina football, get some insight about what it's like to play under Coach Beamer. This is great. I think it's fantastic. And it kind of proves something that I've said for a while. The top tier names in college football, they've always made money. All right? The top tier players in college football have always made money. We've heard the story of the $100 handshakes. We've heard the story of, man, isn't it ironic that every Alabama player ends up driving a Dodge Charger the minute they show up on campus? Isn't that a coincidence, right? My God, NFL, stop. I'm busy.
The Carolina Panthers have released A.J. Bouillier.
Breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Check out the BetQL Podcast Network on the Odyssey Podcasting Network, including BetQL Daily with Joe Giglio, who joins us every Tuesday at 1:30. Can you just clip that and just have it ready to play back from now on?
I'm not going to apologize for how many times I'm going to have to do this today, it seems, because that's what makes it breaking news. You interrupt what's going on to break the news.
Look, we're not even going to get through a segment today at this rate, right? Like, we're just not. I'll come back to that too. Put it on the table. I got a stack of topics on the table that I broke during the show to come back to. So Colton Gothier is not one of the predominant names in college football, right? But I've told you in the past, the prominent names in college football, they've been getting paid anyway. They're getting cars. They're getting free places. It's always happened. It's just a matter of who's smart enough to get caught or to not get caught, and who's dumb enough to get caught.
By the way, being NIL backed, and this is the first time we've heard of something like this, better rock, dude, because you are the first one to do this as far as we know.
Well, from what I understand, the dude is a really good guitar player.
Okay.
Right?
I'm just saying, you're setting precedent.
I agree. Like, because there's a kid, we talked about this when the NIL conversation came up. There's a kid that plays for the West Virginia Mountaineers, Lonzo, and this is what I've said. There's always been the way somebody, now it's just above board, right? There's a kid that plays for West Virginia, plays offensive lineman, and he's a country music prodigy. Like, he's a damn good musician, but he's been playing at bars and whatnot under a stage name and in a big cowboy hat covering his face for years because he's not been allowed to make money. Now he is. We're going to see stuff like this pop out, but think about it, right? Tell you right now, here's a fun thing, though. I take on little side jobs here and there just for the lulls, the boats and giggles, to entertain myself and make some extra money.
Yeah, because you don't need cash.
We're flush with cash.
Putting yourself out there. You work in radio.
Yeah, we're radio money, baby. One of the things that I do on the side just for fun, Lonzo, is there's a website, I'm about to get judged, and that's okay, where I get paid to be a DM for random internet people's Dungeons and Dragons games, right?
See, this is news to me that you get paid to do that. Good for you.
I run like a 3-hour session. I get paid like $50, $75, $100 to do it, right?
I'm sure you're not having fun though.
No, it's great. I like jobs that I make. I like jobs that I like the job and make money. That's why I'm here. But the point is, now if I'm a D&D nerd playing college football, right? How cool would it be able to pay pay your starting left tackle $80 to have him DM a game for you and your friends, right? Now all these kids that are second-tier players but play for a team that has a big, passionate fan base, now they can get tossed some extra coin to do things that they like doing away from football. And Colton Gothier is the first one in the music way to take advantage of that. I think it's awesome. It's good for him. And by the way, if you're a kid coming out of high school who's a music prodigy and you're seeing this happen with the Garnet Trust of South Carolina, recruiting advantage, right? Hey, kid, come to South Carolina. Shane and the Garnet Trust are going to set you up to play virtual concerts.
They're not supposed to be able to do that. You can't use that as a recruiting tool. Remember?
I didn't say you could, but if the kid knows that is happening, you don't have to tell them about it, right? If I'm a left guard that's a 4-star out of Fort Walton Beach, Florida, who likes to play a little country music on the weekend, I don't need Shane Beamer to go, hey, Colton Gothier is playing virtual concerts and making a few extra $100 a week doing it. I'm going, man, I'm going to play bass for Colton Gothier and make some money too. It's great. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo and you. This is ESPN Upstate.
Needs surgery on a fractured wrist. He could miss up to 3 months. NFL Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson is expected to meet in the next 48 hours with the Panthers and Saints, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Carolina not committed to Sam Darnold. New Orleans still trying to find a long-term replacement for the retired Drew Brees. A number of teams pursuing Watson increased Friday when a grand jury in Houston declined to indict him on 10 criminal complaints alleging sexual assault and inappropriate conduct. Watson still faces 22 civil lawsuits. The Texans can agree to a trade at any time, but it can't be made official until after the new league year starts Wednesday. Schefter also reports the Dolphins agreed on a 4-year, $65 million deal with defensive end Emmanuel Agba, and the Browns have released receiver Jarvis Landry.
This is ESPN Upstate. ESPN Upstate.
An Odyssey station.
Pre-spring in South Carolina means using the AC during the day and the heater at night. When your HVAC unit stops working, you need a company you can trust. Priority Heating and Air HVAC specialists will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of the Coleman line of HVAC systems. So keep your family and business comfortable and give Priority Heating and Air a call today at 591-1847 or find them online, PriorityHeatingandAirHVAC.com.
Get help managing your money for the life and years ahead. With Fidelity Income Planning, we'll look at what you save, what you'll need, and build a straightforward plan to generate income, even when you're not working. A plan that gives you a chance to grow your savings and create cash flow that lasts. Plus, you can start, stop, or adjust your plan at any time without the unnecessary fees. Talk to us today so we can help you go from saving to living. Fidelity Brokerage Services.
Your order is up for some fun with the family. So you order the essentials, a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized cash rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards.
That's a good idea, Trey. And also, Mike, yeah, we know we addressed it a little bit at the beginning of the show. I'm sure we'll talk about it later. Prisma in the next break.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast. Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes and Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Prisma, is that what you said, sir?
Uh-huh.
Excellent, 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 excellent. Welcome back, TB. All the Bucs fans running to the trash can to pull that number 12 jersey back out.
I'm sure it wasn't in the trash. It was probably up on the wall.
Keegan just texted me and said, sorry I missed the show today, with a picture of him and his bride laid out on a beach with drinks in Jamaica. Like, I'm going to forgive you this once, but don't do it again. Don't let it happen again. Hey, Trey. Me too. I have 5 guitars hanging on the wall. I have 3 different amplifiers. I have 3 different effects pedal boards to play 6 chords with my band in different orders. Yeah, Mike, we're going to talk about that later in the show too. All right, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate. Welcome back. All right, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It's ESPN Upstate. Welcome back. Greg Popovich set the NBA record for most wins as a head coach this weekend. And here's my question. 1,336 victories to become the all-time winningest head coach. Surpassed Don Nelson, who previously held the record for most regular season wins. Popovich said, quote, "It's just a testament to a whole lot of people. Something like this does not belong to one individual. Basketball is a team sport. You preach to your players that they have to do it together, and that's certainly been the case in my life with all the wonderful players and coaches, the staff that I've been blessed with, the support of this wonderful city, the fans support us no matter what. All of us sharing this record. It's not mine. It's ours here in this city," end quote. Here's my question. Popovich is 73 years old. He has coached 26 seasons with the Spurs, the longest tenure of any head coach in all 4 of the U.S.'s major sports leagues. Lonzo, does Greg Popovich deserve to be recognized as the GOAT? Does he deserve to be put into the pantheon of all-time greatest coaches, but in the discussion, not the definite? Or do we chalk this up to, yeah, anybody could do it if they gave you 26 years, a quarter of a century in one job?
How many championships has he won?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
2, maybe 3?
Yeah, sure. 5.
5. Okay. So 2 plus 3. All right. I mean, that's quite a few championships, but I believe there are other coaches out there with more championships, and people only care about, that sort of thing. The most wins just means that you coach for a really long time.
And that was my question, right? So he won it in 99, 03, 05, 07, and 14. He's a 3-time NBA Coach of the Year in 03, 12, and 14. 4-time NBA All-Star Game head coach, 05, 11, 13, and 16. The question is,
all right, how big is it? Are we going Rushmore, or are you saying Pantheon? I mean, top 10 for sure. He's top 10, maybe top 5.
Let's go. Is he the GOAT so far? Lonzo's definition. Is he on the Mount Rushmore of all-time NBA coaches? Is he in the Pantheon? That is to say, no number. We just say this guy was a great coach. Or do we chalk his success up to, if you do anything from 26 years, of course you're going to get some level of success?
Yeah, because I'm going to go with that one, because if you don't have some level of success, you don't make it 26 years. I mean, so for longevity, yes. If the world were to end today, which is still my criteria, would he be top 5? At least top 10. I don't know about top 5, but top 10 for sure. Number 1, I don't think I could put him at number 1.
I think he's definitely Mount Rushmore. All right. I think he's definitely Mount Rushmore. Is he GOAT so far? I got a hard time saying that. Right. But as I pointed out, because Saturday night when I was out and about with some bros, having a couple of stogies in a bottle of bourbon with some amigos, we got to talking about it right after he broke the record. And the guy said, well, of course he's going to do it. Right. Not only did he have the Parker Ginobili dunking years, but he did it 26 years. If I coached 26 years, I'd get 1,000 wins. And I said, yeah, that's right. But would you keep your job for 26 years, right? This is basketball. This is not anything else where being mediocre, you can stick around for a quarter century. This is the NBA where if you have 3 or 4 down seasons in a row, you're gone. Pops never got dismissed from the job. He was able to keep it. And look, let's be real. There's a point in a tenure, if you never get it done, that the team goes, look, you're great. We're glad to always be in the mix. But eventually, if you're always the bridesmaid, never the bride, you got to change the dating scene a little bit to try to take that next step. We're going to move on. We know you're going to go somewhere and be great, but we've got to try to find who's going to elevate us to the next level. And Pops never got lost in that. And I think there's something to be said for that.
Here's the thing real quick, because I know we need to go to break. Is he so surly people will be too afraid to fire him? So, I mean, that also is a reason why he's lasted so long.
Sure. Look, Pops is loved in San Antonio. Why wouldn't he be, right? 5 titles. Why wouldn't he be? Like, he's loved in San Antonio. And because of Pops' willingness to be open in certain social discussions, Pops has gained a new audience of young folks who go, hey, there's an old guy who speaks for us too, right? He's representing us at that level, and we appreciate it. And he's so loved because of it, the Spurs never let him go. I do think there's something to be said for that. What are your thoughts on that? Text us on the Preferred Home Services text line 71307. Start your text with ESPN. Back after this to cap off hour number 1 of the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
Let me tell you about my friends at Prisma Health right here in the Upstate, ladies and gentlemen. Prisma Health.
You know what a BTR4 is?
What?
A BTR4.
BTR4?
BTR4. It's Army related.
It is a amphibious 8x8 wheeled armored personnel carrier designed in Ukraine.
Come around here for a second. I'm curious. To me, this looks like a video game. It doesn't mean it is, but I mean, because video games are so real now when it comes to this.
Yeah.
Watch what he does to this thing. That's
Yeah.
There's a different. No, here's the one. He watch.
That armor. Oh. Bye, Felicia. That old boy ain't going anywhere now. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know if there's anyone in it or not, but still, it's just because there have been video game footage that people thought was really the footage of the thing. You see something like that, is like, I don't know.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel.
Well, Rashad's not going to be happy because that's AJ Bouillier was one of the people he was hoping they would keep. Would you consider Mitchell Trubisky as no, actually this is breaking news. So we'll come back with breaking news. I don't know if you saw it or not. I'm not going to interrupt commercials for it, but you know. This is a surprising place.
Get the prescription medication that treats it at affordable prices. Hims ED medication has the same active ingredient as
You gonna lead with the breaking news?
because it's generic. You pay 90% less. That's right.
I'll hit it in a spot where it sounds more breaking, but yes,
If it involves Trubisky having a new team, go ahead and lead with it.
it does.
Okay, go ahead and lead with it.
No, I mean, I'm going to hit the liner, then I'm going to hit it.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we're back on.
The more we do of that, the better. I could do it. Okay. All
I
right.
don't know what it is yet.
All right.
You just told me there's
Yeah.
breaking news. I said what? You said I'll save it for the air.
All right. All right. So, according to Adam Schefter, Mitchell Trubisky is signing a contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Steelers.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I don't see any details on it yet, but he's signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right. So Mitchell Trubisky, who became the talk of the town during the NFL Combine, is now the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't hate
All
the
right,
pick.
wait, there's an assumption that he's going to be the starting quarterback.
He's gonna be the
He
starter.
could get beat out by
Mason Rudolph.
possibly.
No. By what's old Ducksworth's name? No, I don't think he's getting beat out by a guy who's primarily known for his ability to call ducks.
They also
All right.
have an Ohio State quarterback there, but it's he's not going to do it either. So Mitchell Trubisky going to Pittsburgh
To be the starting quarterback.
he'll be the starting quarterback.
So Mitchell Trubisky, which makes sense, right? There was a lot of people saying, will Pittsburgh get in on Deshaun Watson, right? Like he kind of fills the role that Ben Roth. Nope. Pittsburgh had already had the PR nightmare they had to wade through with Big Ben. They weren't going to deal with Deshaun yet. So we'll talk more about this on the other side. That's hour one of the books. Hour two around the corner on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Nailed it. Stuck the landing.
Luckily, I looked at the last second. Too much stuff happening at the same time.
Tuesday, South Carolina women's basketball. They are the overall number one seed in the NCAA women's basketball tournament, and they're going to host a first four game and the first and second rounds at Colonial Life Arena. Howard and Incarnate Word are going to play against each other on Wednesday. And the winner of that game will go on and face off against South Carolina. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
Have you heard Offsides with Mark Ryan?
A couple of my colleagues in Houston have wondered aloud if, quote unquote, the Houston Texans got the call from the league office on Lovie Smith. I don't want to act as though Lovie Smith hasn't earned an NFL.
Oh,
it was so close.
Starting the week off. Rough. It's out some, though. It's not all the way.
From my angle, it's not.
Maybe higher on the wall, like where the stain is. He would have took the alley-oop, though. He'd have went in there. There you go. And more what? No.
You should see.
What,
his
were there
house.
multiple?
He's got a cubicle built to him, yeah.
He's got one of those.
That's kind of mean. All right, not kind of mean. That was really mean. See if I go over there for like a week and a half. A protest. I'm going to have to leave because of mental anguish. I call HR, but I don't know who they are. How much news will break in the next hour?
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. I am Rob. He is Lonzo. You or you. Be a part of the radio broadcast. Call in. The phone line is open at 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776 is the number. You can text us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307, 71307. Start your text with ESPN. We'll read them on the air. You can also tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word, and at ESPN Upstate. Kind of rad. We may have let me rephrase that. We have 2 things happening as far as guests in the next 2 weeks, Lonzo, and I'm very excited about it. Number 1, I can officially confirm that either Wednesday this week or Monday next week, we're working the times out after, Lonzo and I will be joined by, it's the Big Show. Yes, Paul White, the Big Show.
You have the base for that.
I really don't.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
You got to get down in there. You can't.
I can't. I really can't. I'd like to. The Big Show, Paul White.
South Carolina's own.
Will be joining us. AEW is doing a show March 30th, Wednesday, March 30th in Columbia, South Carolina. And we will be there. Lonzo, we'll both be there. And we are going to have AEW's Paul White on, the Big Show, the Giant, to talk about it, and potentially one more AEW superstar. I'm not going to put it out there who yet, Lonzo, because it is very up in the air. Paul's for sure. The second one's a maybe. But let's just say
that second one you haven't told me about.
So, correct, because I just found out about this morning after you left the office. I don't know for sure. We know for sure we got Paul White coming on. We got the Big Show coming on. The second one, I'm not going to say who it is, though, because I don't know for a fact. I am saying if we get this guy, I may just fall backwards into a coffin out of shock. All right? That's all I'm going to say. I don't know that we're getting him. It's up in the air, but it's a possibility. All right?
Let me cover I feel like half my face is covered in paint.
Yes, indeed. All right. So let's get to some stuff this hour. By the way, the NFL right now is just going bananas, BANANAS. We've got moves all over the place. Tom Brady has lost an offensive lineman. Joe Burrow picked him up. Did you see, by the way, somebody, speaking of offensive linemen going from Tampa to Cincinnati, after Brady retired, somebody asked Gronk, all right, you've been with Brady your whole career. Is there any other QB that you would want to play with to stay active? And Gronk said, yeah, Joey Burrow. I'd love to play with Joey B. I think it'd be ice cold. And then Brady's like, I can't see Gronk with another man. I can't see Gronk with another quarterback, man. That's why Brady came back. He couldn't have stood the sight of 87 catching rocks from Joey B. So we had to bring it back. I love it. We've got Mitchell Trubisky signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We mentioned earlier in the show that the Panthers are a freaking disaster right now. An absolute disaster right now.
Yeah, they've decided to drop like their entire defense.
Yeah.
Seems like.
By the way, check this out. The 2021 free agent class for the Carolina Panthers, right? Rashad Perriman, Dan Arnold, David Moore, Morgan Fox, AJ Bouillier, Hassan Reddick. You ready for where they all stand right now? Perriman's been traded for nothing. Arnold's been traded for nothing. David Moore was released. Morgan Fox was cut. AJ Bouillier has been cut. And Hassan Reddick is in free agency. You've got some cap relief from all those guys. But your defense looks real thin right now. Like real thin right now. Like real thin right now. What is going on in Charlotte? Now, the speculation, ladies and gentlemen, the speculation right now is that all of these moves are being made to clear up a bunch of cap space in order to make a play for Deshaun Watson, which, yes, Carolina's in the mix for. We knew that. Deshaun on Friday heard from a grand jury that he would not face criminal charges. So no jail time on the table for Deshaun Watson unless a new charge comes forward later. But as of right now, he's clear of criminal charges. There are still the 22 lawsuits on the table, civil suits, which are not connected to the outcome of the grand jury at all. They can and will go forward. They can be settled at any time. They can be brought to trial should the plaintiffs elect that that is the course that they wish to go and not accept a settlement offer from Deshaun Watson and his camp. Does not mean there will or will not be a settlement. We don't know. No one can know. There was only speculation at this point, right? But the question mark is going to be, could Deshaun Watson still be suspended by the National Football League? And the answer is yes. Yes, he very could. We are following a very similar path to what happened with Ben Roethlisberger. There were accusations about Big Ben. The criminal charges never got brought to fruition against Ben Roethlisberger, but the NFL suspended him anyway. I think it went from an opening suspension of 6 games and or 8 games and got dropped back down to 4. So he was suspended for 4 games that he had to sit out. Let me put on my legal hat for just a second. I am not an attorney, nor did I spend a night at the Holiday Inn Express, okay? However, I do have friends that are attorneys. I have run this by them a number of times and asked the question, what now, right? What's next for Deshaun? And why, how would there be these 22 suits that have this much press surrounding them if he doesn't face criminal charges? Now, I knew the answer, but I wanted to hear it from an attorney so that I didn't sound as much of a speculating dude. That I don't know why those words came out in that order. Of a dude who is speculating on the radio for the sake of hashtag content. And here's what I got. Sexual harassment, sexual assault, criminal charges are some of the toughest to A, get in front of a judge and jury, and B, to have conviction. Why? Because very, very frequently they don't leave a lot of evidence that can pass for the level of beyond a reasonable doubt, right? There are text messages allegedly in play here from Deshaun and from Deshaun to these young women accusing him of sexual assault. But that's just that. That's text messages, right? They can be misconstrued. All of us have sent a text that does not come across in the tone and deliver the message that we tried to make them send, tried to make them deliver. It happens. And if Deshaun did the things that he is being accused of doing by some of these women, it becomes a he said, she said situation. And I saw somebody tweet earlier, well, this case is really he said, she 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 said, right? Which is a fair point. There's a lot of smoke for there to not be a fire, but you have to keep in mind that unless I'm reading this wrong, which I might be because I'm an idiot, every one of these cases is going to be treated individually, right? They'll all be heard individually, which means that every one of them is he said, she said. And a lot of the things Deshaun is accused of doing, it's not like it leaves evidence behind, right? If Deshaun Watson, to try to make this as family friendly as possible, pleasured himself in, around, on to a young lady giving him a massage, it's not like that leaves a bunch of evidence, right? And even if it did, even if they say there was Deshaun Watson's DNA on the clothing of one of these women, it still doesn't mean that Deshaun couldn't say it was consensual. And it's a very, very hard thing to prove in a court that it was not. 22 lawsuits. That's a lot. Just because the criminal charges did not stick does not mean that what these women are alleging happened did or did not happen. And that's where the civil suits come in. Civil suit does not get held to the same standard as a criminal suit would, as a criminal charge in the court of law would. It's a different standard. So Deshaun will not face criminal charges. That is a big step, right? That's a big step. Knowing that Deshaun Watson is not going to be playing the role of Adam Sandler in the updated longest yard is a big step towards him being NFL eligible. But what happens with these civil suits may go a long way in whether or not Deshaun gets suspended for 4 games, 8 games, 10 games, 12, 17 games, right? Deshaun Watson, remember, Big Ben Roethlisberger, suspended, I believe, 6 games. It was either 6 or 8. I think it was 8, actually. Suspended 8 games, reduced down to 4 because the criminal charges didn't stick. That was one case of alleged sexual assault. Deshaun has 22 of them standing between him and a return to the field. Could Roger Goodell go, okay, we gave Ben 4 games, ultimately, for 1. If you were to give Deshaun 4 games for every 1 charge against him, he would be out for like 5 seasons. Now, they're not going to do that, but I can see it be a full year suspension. And the question's going to be, if you are Carolina, New Orleans, Seattle, Washington, or any of the other, well, I guess Indianapolis now, not Washington, because Carson's a commander. If you are one of those teams, knowing that Deshaun is potentially staring down the barrel of a full season suspension from the National Football League, do you make that trade still? Because you're still going to, remember, even if Deshaun Watson ultimately has veto power over in a trade, he's at the point now where you don't want to sit out 2 seasons. You're probably willing to open up where you're willing to play. You're ultimately willing to open up where you are willing to play in order to play, right? And I'm sure that there's at least a couple of teams that are going to be interested in Deshaun that Deshaun would have waived his no trade clause for anyway had they pursued earlier. They just did not. I got to think, even with Sean Payton gone, Deshaun Watson would look at New Orleans and go, okay, it's a team that's been run on offense. I got Mike Thomas. I got Alvin Kamara, right? I got a good offensive line and a really good defense on the other side of the ball. That's a team that is a playoff team as it is. Remember, the Saints missed the playoff by half a game last year. That's a playoff team as it is. I elevate them to an NFC contender. Do I do that in Carolina?
He has to factor in the protests and people who are going to be very unhappy with whichever team he ends up going to. So I think the smart move for him is to go somewhere where he would be more accepted. And that's probably Carolina.
I'm going to tell you straight up. You know what? Let me play this clip from Dan Orlovsky. I'm glad you said that, Lonzo. Because Dan Orlovsky, good football takes, terrible food takes. Dan Orlovsky popped off about this on ESPN earlier today. Here is what Dan Orlovsky had to say about whatever team ends up going with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, if I were the New Orleans Saints, I would try to be trading for Deshaun Watson because I think they're the one team that if they acquire a quarterback like him becomes a bona fide, legit Super Bowl contender. I push back a little bit on Mike T because I don't think you're trading for Deshaun Watson strictly for this season. You're trading for Deshaun Watson because at the quarterback position on the field, you are trying to solidify the next 10 years, and acquiring Deshaun Watson does that. Candidly, if I was Houston, I wouldn't trade him in the AFC. There'd be a 0% chance that I would allow that player to play in the same conference as my organization. And if I was a general manager in the NFC, everybody outside of Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Dallas, the Rams, Chicago, and Minnesota should be calling Houston. That gives 10 teams in the NFC. They should be calling Houston to figure out what acquiring Deshaun is going to cost. That being said, Greeny, I don't think we can have this conversation without continuing to make the point. Organizationally, you better be darn sure that you are built to absorb what's coming. Owner-wise, your owner's wife, general manager, your head coach, your PR staff, the people that work in your building, the human beings that work in your building better be okay. And your leadership in your locker room better be okay with everything that is going, because I thought Dom's points were spot on. Everything that you are going to be absorbing with Deshaun Watson.
So that's it, right? Whatever team takes Deshaun is going to have a PR nightmare in their hands. Question is, can you weather the storm? Do you want to weather the storm? Can you weather the storm, right? I'll tell you right now, I know a lot of Saints fans on Twitter that are right now going, I do not want Deshaun in New Orleans. I don't want him on this team. If they bring him here, I will not be supporting the Saints until he's gone, right? Won't do it. I know a lot of fans who jumped off the bandwagon when we brought Jameis Winston to town. I'm sure a lot more will jump off if Deshaun Watson shows up. Will Carolina have a higher percentage of fans that support him because he played for Clemson? I would guess probably so. Will it matter? I don't know. Because you got to keep in mind, there may be a higher percentage of fans of that team that support the guy, but you are going to draw the national ire to you no matter.
Whether it's right or wrong, this is how sports work. If you come in and you win, that's going to be the most important thing.
Yeah.
If he comes in and him coming in anywhere, depending on how bad the team is, if you're depleting your entire roster to get him, that's going to be a problem. But if you still have a decent enough team, he's going to bring some wins to a team that brings him in.
Because keep in mind, now you've got to convince Deshaun, right? But you also got to convince Houston that you're the team to do the deal with. Like it or not, Deshaun is going to command a huge haul. He's going to command a huge haul. I'm talking 3, maybe 4 first rounders, right? I guess, 25 years old? He's got probably 7-8 years of Pro Bowl caliber football in him, regardless of the off-the-field issues. Regardless of the off-the-field issues, right? So, if you are a GM right now that's considering making that move, whether it's Scott Fitter in Carolina, Mickey Loomis in New Orleans, whoever, you better make sure that your franchise is ready to take the hit. Because you are going to have a lot of folks at the national scene who are going to start saying you are enabling this type of behavior. If he did it. But you better make sure the guys the guys and gals that work in your front office are ready for that too. Because they're the ones that got to face the music. Right? Texture says, I will 100% take Deshaun Watson. I don't care if he murdered 22 women. Guy was found not guilty. Hop off his blank. All right, a couple of things. Number one, you do. That's ridiculous, and you know it. I'm just going to work under the assumption that you were exaggerating for the sake of shock value. Number two, quote, guy was found not guilty, end quote. You do understand not guilty does not mean he didn't do it, right? I'm not saying he did, but not guilty does not mean the same thing as innocent. Those are different things.
O.J. Simpson was found not guilty. How many people believe that he's not guilty?
Bingo. Not guilty does not mean he didn't do it. Not guilty just means we don't have enough evidence to prove that he did. There's a difference, right? There's a difference. So it is still, you might be willing to take Deshaun no matter what, and that's fine. But there is going to be a large swath of American folks who are going to dig the talons into whatever team does ultimately end up with Deshaun Watson. Let's take a break. When we come back, Corey Diaz of the Greenville News is going to join us here on the show. Tomorrow, the South Carolina Gamecock football program begins their spring practice. We're going to ask Corey what storylines he's looking for out of that. And the Lady Gamecocks, Don Staley's gals, have the #1 overall seed in the NCAA Women's National Championship Basketball Tournament. We'll talk about their path to the Final Four. All of that and more coming up. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. Corey Diaz next on The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
To Northeastern by a 5-3 score. They still took 2 of 3 in the weekend series. Their 15-game winning streak dating back to 2021 comes to an end. They're going to get back at it when they play host to Georgia State coming up on Tuesday. South Carolina women's basketball, they are the overall #1 seed in the NCAA.
You got Corey's number on the show, prep
show?
sheet?
Yeah, I do.
They are going to host a first 4 game and the first and second rounds at the Life Arena. Howard and Garnet Trust are going to play a game against each other on Wednesday, and then the winner of that game will go on to face off against South Carolina. Download the Score app today. Lightning fast sports alerts so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. With your ESPN Upstate Sports Center update, I'm Matt Pauley.
ESPN Upstate, home of the biggest games and the best local sports talk show.
And we got a lot of
It's Offsides with Mark Ryan. What's next? It's the best coverage of March Madness, the NFL draft, and much more. The biggest names and the biggest games in sports. I'm so proud of all these guys out here. The talk is real on ESPN Upstate.
I'm Michael Jenkins, helping you beat the books with BetQL. Neither the Portland Trailblazers nor the Atlanta Hawks could find their way out of a paper bag right now. Both are 1-6 against the number in their last 7 games. However, BetQL has the Hawks as a 5-star best bet tonight, despite the fact that Atlanta is coming off a loss to the Pacers yesterday. But the Blazers are injury-ravaged with multiple players on 10-day contracts, including their starting center. Meanwhile, the Hawks look to have John Collins back on the court. He's a game-time decision.
You're the one everyone looks to for answers. Come rain or shine, the job must get done. And you're the one who makes it happen. We get you, Jackie in Fresno, putting your employee safety first. And Manny in Chattanooga, whose local Granger team knows him by name. We're here for you and all the ones who get it done. With 24/7 customer support and access to product specialists to help you find what you need. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Are you and I going to fill out a bracket for the show?
Yes.
Or are we? Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to set it up after the show today.
All right.
I'm going to set up an ESPN group, and we'll invite listeners to compete with us. And we'll do something like, I'll see if we got anything we can give to whoever comes in first. I'm not going to do if you beat me because a lot of people will. So whoever picks the top bracket will get I think we got T-shirts downstairs or something.
Yeah, you should check that first.
I will. Worst case, winner and I will go get a beer. I'll buy them a beer. I'll buy them a beverage of their choice.
Not to mention acknowledgement on number one show in
And you can talk
state of
about
South
it.
Carolina. Yeah. I would say what I would expect if I won, but I know I'm not going to win. So I'm not, there's that. We used to do a thing for the entire building. Tara usually did quite well because that's how that works.
I'll probably invite like Stoneman, the Rise Guys. I'll selected crew from the other side of the building. My chair just randomly dropped 2 inches. Like just.
I don't. There's so many things I could say there. I'm not going to though. It's more about the chair than it is you. But anyway.
He said, Dad works for the government and state law requires I receive a pay stub. Uh-oh. Hi, I'm Mike Capel, CEO of Patriot Software. After many emergency calls, I learned how to correctly withhold payroll taxes and create pay stubs.
Hey, Corey. This is Lonzo, ESPN Upstate. Nothing much. Just enjoying NFL free agency today and all the breaking news that we're getting. It seems like it. All right, we got a minute. Hang on.
Specifically his hometown of New York City or Los Angeles. After a failed attempt by the New York Knicks, the Los Angeles Lakers and the Bucks agreed on a deal to send Kareem and his backup Walt Wesley to LA for 4 players. He went on to win 5 titles with the Lakers, as well as 3 regular season MVPs.
Build your winning team today. Go to linkedin.com/sports.
Every team is one conversation away from a trade that can make all the difference. The same is true for your business.
That's why when you post a job for free, LinkedIn Jobs taps into a network of over 770 million professionals to find the right people for your role. LinkedIn Jobs helps you narrow down to only the most qualified candidates, which means you can start hiring the right people faster. Go to linkedin.com/sports to post your job for free. That's linkedin.com/sports. Terms and conditions apply.
Auto Kineton is hiring production technicians starting at $16.80 an hour. Auto Kineton, formerly Tower International, is hiring production technicians starting at $17 an hour and material handlers at $18 an hour with a $500 sign-on bonus. Hiring events every Thursday from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. South Chase Boulevard, Fountain Inn. More than the scores, the ups and downs.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate, Robin, Lonzo, and you. And now to the phone lines we go to welcome in the young man out of Columbia, South Carolina. He covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News. You can find him on Twitter at Corey Diaz, CORYDIAZ_TGN. Corey Diaz joins us here on the show to talk a little Gamecock football and basketball. Corey, what's up, fella? Welcome back, my guy.
Hey, man, appreciate you having me back on. Can't imagine there's much to talk about, I'm sure.
I'm sure it's a slow news day for you, right? I mean, spring practice tomorrow, number 1 overall seed in the women's tournament. The men don't make the NIT. I'm sure you are hurting to get articles on Yahoo Sports like I have seen you do multiple times over the past couple of weeks, buddy.
Yeah, man, and you say all that, and I'm just fired up to talk South Carolina baseball with you right now.
Yes. You know what? Jokes aside, this team's going to be interesting to watch. They get swept by Clemson last weekend, but then they turn around and win a weekend series over the number 1 team in the country, the Texas Longhorns. Won't spend a ton of time on it, Corey, but for a team that the bats were awake against Clemson, they just didn't seem to have any pitching, looks significantly better against Texas. Is this going to be an up and down year for South Carolina baseball, or was this just a case of it takes some time to get bullpen chemistry together?
It's I would say until they get Julian Bosnick back and potentially maybe another arm or two that's kind of sitting on the side hurt right now, man. I think I think Gamecock baseball fans are just going to have to ride this roller coaster, man. And look, SEC play starts next week too. They have to go to Knoxville against a really hot, really good Tennessee baseball team. So you go there and get one. I would classify that as a series win for a team that's struggling with the amount of injuries, especially amongst the pitching staff that they have right now. Two things about the Clemson series, and you kind of mentioned there a little bit that I thought was much better against number 1 Texas this past weekend at Founders was obviously the pitching. But 2, I thought it was hitting with runners in scoring position. I didn't think that they did enough of that against Clemson in those 3 games. And I thought they did enough of it, especially on Sunday playing the 2 games. They did enough of that against Texas to where they were able to take advantage of some situations, bases loaded, 1 out, runners on, first and second with 1 or 2 outs, being able to push across at least 1 run in those kind of situations. Those are the things that teams, especially on the collegiate level, they have to do to win baseball games. And they did that, they did that all day on Sunday against Texas, made them pay for those mistakes that, it just takes 1 pitch to not be at the right location for good college baseball hitters to make you pay for it. And so they were able to jump on some pitches in some high stakes situations yesterday in those 2 games to win both and to win a series.
All right, let's flip it over. We got spring football getting fired up tomorrow, 9:45 a.m. outside of the Long Family Football Operations Building. Shane Beamer's Gamecocks will strap on the helmets for the first time in the spring. Let's start open-ended, Corey. Give me 2 or 3 of the top storylines, the top issues, the top circumstances you are looking to cover out of South Carolina. Obviously, Spencer Rattler is going to be at top of the list outside of the quarterback position. What else is Corey Diaz keeping his eye on?
I think it's right there beside the quarterback in the backfield. I think it's the running back position, with the departure of Kevin Harris and Jaquandre White. I know you got two guys coming back in Marshawn Lloyd and Juju McDowell, but the additions of Lavoisier Carroll, freshman guy from that played running back at Georgia, he played defensive back, but now he's just back over to the running back position here with South Carolina. You got Christian Beal-Smith, who's a grad transfer from Wake Forest, who has played a lot of college football. Oddly enough, he's one of the newest faces, but yet is the most experienced tailback on the roster. So you've got a lot of things that, Shane and Montario Hardesty, Marcus Satterfield on the offensive side of the ball that they're going to want to look at and work through, with that group. Because, look, Rob, I think you and I think we talked every Monday last football season about how the passing attack was not very good, and they're just, they're not blocking, and then the quarterbacks, whomever it was, because there was 3 or 4 different of them, right? They can't throw, and look, you can't throw the ball if you also can't run the ball. So those things are symbiotic, and they live one and of the same. And so South Carolina this year, I think, in my one-on-one with Shane that I had 3 or 4 weeks ago, he and I talked a lot about, just the priorities of this team moving forward after his first season. And he said, we have got to be able to run the football. That was one of the first things he mentioned. So I know for Shane and his staff on the offensive side, that is the biggest priority, is to get this run game going, get it to where it is effective enough that it's going to be able to help Spencer at the quarterback position be able to, throw 40, 50-yard bombs and score deep, touchdowns and be able to move chains on a third and an obvious passing situation, right? And so obviously, too, you have to shift your eyes up to the offensive line, right? You're getting all those guys back. There are 8 guys among the offensive linemen that'll be on the roster in spring that started at least one game last year for South Carolina. That's a big number. I mean, the Alabamas and the Clemsons and the Georgias of the world don't have that kind of number, right? And so you would hope and assume that level of experience, that level of playing time, that level of getting that amount of significant snaps in games will be very helpful for that group. We kind of thought that going into last year, right? That there was a lot of guys, there was 4 returning starters from the year before, from the COVID year. There should be a lot of, cohesion there, a lot of chemistry, a lot of gelling, and it just never came together. And so, excuse me. So you'd hope that those guys would be able to come together after all this time, especially the last 2 years, find the 5 best, and I think that was something that we saw last year too, right? Was that, obviously if you have 8 guys coming back to start at least one game, that means there's a lot of moving around. There's a lot of trying to figure out, trying to gauge who plays best where along the offensive line. And you want to obviously take advantage of each guy's skills and what they do best. So these 15 practices in spring, man, I think we're going to see a lot of movement, a lot of shaking around up front on the offensive line, because it's going to be critical for them to find the best 5, and put them in positions that exploits their talents the best. Obviously Eric Douglas is going to be your center, but who are the other 4 guys and where do you play them? And I would say defensively, man, it's there's a couple of guys coming back from injury, that I'm really interested to watch, just kind of where they are, in their rehab process, how healthy they are. Sherrod Green at linebacker, I thought looking back on last year, if maybe you have him for the last 9 games of the year, maybe there's some, like the Kentucky game, right? Like maybe there's a situation where, he's a guy with so much experience that he makes a play on a critical third down that maybe, Kentucky gained to extend a drive and Michigan went down and either kicked a field goal or scored a touchdown, right? Like he's a guy that he's basically the quarterback of the defense. And so, where's Sherrod on his rehab process? How much can he get out there and sort of get back into his rhythm, his groove, find those, find himself again, and so, and obviously Rick Sandage up front at the defensive tackle position. I think that's another guy that I think they felt the loss of a little bit, and him coming back, it gives them a little more depth on the interior of the defensive line, alongside Zach Pickens and MJ Webb and, those guys who got a lot of playing time and a lot of experience last year. So, defensively, I mean, that's kind of what I'm initially watching for. I just kind of want to see how far along those guys are in their rehab processes and how much they're going to be able to run around with the guys and not only be depth guys, but be guys that kind of can get back to the starting positions that they had and be those leaders again.
Corey Diaz from the Greenville News joining us here on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate for a few more minutes. One guy we have talked about a lot. We know we got Spencer coming in. I don't think it's unfair of South Carolina fans to say, okay, if we get last year Spencer Rattler instead of 2020 Spencer Rattler, and there comes a point where it's just not getting done the way we had hoped it would get it done. If we got to go to Luke Doty, Corey Diaz, is he healthy? Is he ready? Is he going to get significant time in spring practice to stay up to speed? Could we see Colton Gothier getting more time, et cetera? What's the QB room shaping up like as we head towards spring practice tomorrow?
Yeah, I think the quarterback room as a whole right now today on spring practice eve, I would say is probably the healthiest it's been, since the first week of fall camp. That's not to say that, I think Luke Doty is 100% healthy, but I do know since pretty much everyone's been back, after holiday break, I do know that he has been, a full participant, in conditioning and lifting and workouts. He's been out there on the team, when they have their quote unquote competition days. Right. And so, he's done all the running, obviously I know that's what we're looking at, right? We're looking at a left foot injury and how that foot's coming along. And I mean, if he's sprinting, man, and running 180s and doing shuttles and all this stuff, I mean, you would assume, right, that he's healthy and ready to go. So obviously we'll get eyes on him in the morning tomorrow, and we'll kind of see how he's moving around and see kind of exactly where he is. And obviously we'll talk to Shane after practice tomorrow afternoon. So, but I would imagine we'll see the healthiest version of Luke Doty that we've seen in a long, long time. And then too, you mentioned Colton Gothier. Look, he's a guy that's got a year under his belt, in this program now. It should be a guy that there was talk, and he even mentioned himself. Learning the playbook last year was something that he was really ingrained in, and he knew it was something that was coming a little slower than he would have liked, which is why he was kind of buried on the depth chart, coming in as a freshman. And so, now that he's got that extra year, how further along is he? How much more knowledgeable of Marcus Satterfield's offense is he? And how well can he, get the ball out on time? That was another thing that he mentioned was, recognizing coverages and whatnot, and not getting the ball out in quick enough time. So what's that timing like now? Now that he's entering into his second spring with the football program, how much better is that? So, yeah, I mean, look, look, I've got Spencer Rattler, sharpied in as the starting quarterback for South Carolina in the opener against Georgia State, that first weekend of September. I think we all do. But, look, you're the fan favorite, right, is the backup quarterback. So we'll see kind of who, kind of takes the reins of that. Obviously, we won't know 100% certainty who's going to be the number 2 guy through spring. I think we'll definitely see a battle there that will continue into fall. But, we'll see the healthiest quarterback room at South Carolina that we've seen since the beginning of fall practice last fall.
Corey Diaz of the Greenville News here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. All right, we're going to get you back on next week to talk more about it, because I really would like to hear more about some of the transfer guys and how they're going to fit in on both sides of the ball. But I think it'd be good to get some eyes on them in practice before we do so. We turn our attention back over to Columbia, Corey Diaz, where the first couple of rounds of the NCAA college basketball women's basketball tournament will be hosted by the number 1 overall seed Lady Gamecocks. And let's make this one easy, Corey. First 2 rounds getting hosted there in Columbia. What does the path to the Final Four after that loss to Kentucky? And by the way, probably the first time in the back half of the fourth quarter, the girls looked a little gassed with a little bit of break. How does this team look for a potential Final Four run?
I think they look great. Look, man. Sometimes really good teams have bad stretches, right? I don't think anyone is immune to that. Any sport, it doesn't matter. Those things are going to happen. It's just how you respond and shake back, right? This is, up and down. This is the most talented roster in women's college basketball. You've got a ton of ladies on this team that was on that Final Four team last year. I mean, I was at the watch party last night that they were having. They held an open practice and a little fan event that did some giveaways and stuff, and they're also doing a watch party for the selection show. And that opening montage, I'm sure you guys were watching as well, but there's a 2-3 second clip of them showing a tight shot on Aaliyah Boston and the emotion that she had after missing that bunny, that lost them the game against Stanford last year. And so, and I looked over at her immediately after that, and her jaw kind of dropped. It's things like that, right, that I think this team, and especially who I would consider the front runner for the National Player of the Year in Aaliyah Boston, those are the things that's gonna fuel and motivate this team to get through. Look, I've looked at this whole bracket. Obviously, I watched the selection show last night. I kind of looked at this thing up and down, up and down, up and down about 4 or 5 times, and I would say South Carolina and Stanford both kind of got the shorter ends of the deal here. I thought they've gotten both of these teams, who I would say are the favorites to get to the national championship game and face each other. They got some pretty tough regions. I mean, for South Carolina, they get Caitlin. If they get to the Elite Eight, they get Caitlin Clark and the Hawkeyes. In the Elite Eight, that's going to be a big time matchup. All eyes of the sport will be on that game. And their three seed is Iowa State, who has played some really, really good basketball of late. And then that's not to mention who South Carolina and Dawn could see in the Sweet 16, which would be Adia Barnes and the Arizona Wildcats, who have done some really, really good things the last few years, and who I think are probably playing their best basketball right now. So, I thought UConn kind of got the luck end of the draw. They're playing their region championship stuff basically in their backyard. I personally didn't think Louisville deserved a 1 seed, but they got it in the Wichita region. I thought that was going to be Baylor that was going to get that. So I'm not throwing out any conspiracy theories or anything like that, but I would just say, just from my eye and what I've seen and what I watched of this sport, I think South Carolina and Stanford both have gotten 2 really tough draws just to get to the Final Four. But I think this team can do it. I think they're talented enough to do it. I think, Dawn talked a lot to us last night about, how this team has been itching to get back onto the court, after that, that heartbreaking loss to Kentucky. And I realized this morning too, Rob, and I don't know why it has escaped me, but, South Carolina has 2 losses this year, 3 total points, and I think a total of maybe 3 seconds, I think, was the amount of time that, in between the opposing team making a shot and them having a chance. So you lost 2 games, about 3 total points, and there was basically 3 seconds in that stretch.
Yeah, we're gonna keep an eye on that, Corey. I hate to do it, man. We are right up on the break, my guy. I appreciate it. We will get y'all back on next Monday with our first week of spring practice in the books, buddy.
Appreciate you guys. Y'all take care.
You got it. That's Corey Diaz from the Greenville News. Follow him on Twitter, CORYDIAZ_TGM. We'll talk about some of his thoughts when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Back on.
10-4.
We're trying to.
I got it. Did you guys watch? I have not watched the Adam Project, but I'm going to, Steven, because it looks like it was made for me.
Yeah, it does look pretty cool. I haven't had a chance to either.
And at this point, like, Ryan Reynolds has entered the echelon of actors who can't do anything wrong.
All right, so we're going to be having breaking news quite a bit throughout this day. And you may say this isn't breaking news, but it is if you are Joe Burrow. Cincinnati is signing offensive lineman Ted Karras.
Nice. That's 2 today, yeah?
That from the Patriots.
Yeah.
So that's 2. So they're doing something that Carolina could do. They're addressing their offensive line. Imagine that.
Yeah. I've said a couple of times, and I still believe this. If Cincinnati had a better offensive line, they won the Super Bowl this year, right? What kept them from winning the Super Bowl was that Aaron Donald started suplexing Joe Burrow in the second half. That was it. After Joey B had that one big play where Aaron Donald was right in his face and couldn't do anything about it, Donald turned the corner, became a monster, started Brock Lesnar-ing Joey B all over the field, and the Bengals could not put it into the end zone late. With a better offensive line, the Cincinnati Bengals win the Super Bowl this year. I believe that. And now they've got not one but 2 of the best available free agent offensive linemen coming to town. This is what addressing a need looks like, right? They're not waiting for the draft. They're not going to see what falls to them in the first round. They said, let's go out there and get the guys. And listen, it lined up nice for them that these guys were available in free agency, right? Sometimes you want to address a need, and the names just aren't there. And the fewer names there are, the higher price they command. This year's offensive line free agency class is pretty deep. It's pretty deep. And Cincinnati said, all right, we'll worry about wide receivers. We'll worry about defenders later. Let's go fix the biggest problem. The biggest hole is at the offensive line where we were bad this year. Let's get that solved. Now they've got what? A left guard and a left tackle. The 2 most important spots on the football field, if you play quarterback, are your left guard, left tackle. Joey B's got them both now. The Bengals are going to be back next year. That was not a fluke run. That was not a Cinderella run. And now they've addressed their biggest need. You got to love it. Back after this to wrap up Hour 2 on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate. Tell you about my friends at QC Kinetics, ladies and gentlemen. I was an athlete, or at least tried to pass for one, for many, many years. Started playing sports when I was literally a child, and played all the way up until my early 30s. And it was awesome. I wouldn't change anything except for the joint pain that has come because my knees wore down, because my shoulder hurts. I would change that, which is why we partnered up with our friends at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics, ladies and gentlemen, offers non-surgical regenerative therapy. That's right. They can help you with that joint pain, and you don't have to get sliced, diced, put under anesthesia, or PT afterwards. It's just that simple. You call our friends at QC Kinetics at 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show and get that first consultation for free. And they will explain to you how their non-surgical regenerative therapy can help the body restore that connective tissue, regenerate that connective tissue, get rid of the inflammation, get rid of the pain. Learn more by going to their website, qckinetics.com, qckinetics.com, and get yourself set up with an appointment by mentioning the Rob Brown Show. It's our friends at QC Kinetics right here in the Upstate. My mom just said she watched the Adam Project and said it was very good.
There you go. Highly recommended.
I mean, it's got Deadpool and the Hulk in it, you know?
It does.
Did you watch Free Guy? You liked it,
yes,
right?
I did.
Free Guy and Adam Project are on me, and the Saturday, we're not doing anything because Thursday I'll be at the well for practices all day. Friday I'll be at the well for games all day. Maybe.
We might be taking a drive.
Sunday I'll be at the well for games all day. So Saturday is the only day we have off. The lady friend and I have said that Free Guy and Adam Project are both getting watched on Saturday.
By the way, level 51 now can't beat the second boss. Cameron came in to give me a hand. He had already beat it individually. Can't beat the second boss. He kept dying. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I keep dying. And I need to check because it may be that buff thing that you were talking about. I may have reached a level too far above him that's causing him to come down to it. Can't hit the stupid lady. I can hit her with magic, but I'm not a magic guy. So I've got some magic, but started to invite you last night, but I saw you were watching something. So
I was watching basketball. Well, I was cleaning up the man cave and trying to hit the finishing touches on it so that I can get in there and start playing more. Because the lady friend told me that she would be interested in watching me play and potentially starting to play with me, but she didn't have a place to sit in the man cave because the couch still had stuff on it. So I was like, well, let me get that done. Of course, that may have just been a ploy because she knew it would make me clean the couch.
Well, whatever works.
But the big TV's in the man cave, right? The 60 inches in the man cave. So she's like, well, if you're gonna watch basketball, I might as well watch it with you on the bigger TV. And then she said, and if you like, if you're gonna play games with because I play games with the guys, she's like, if I can play and talk with them, I'll hang out in here and whatever. So I was like, well, let me get this done.
Yeah, I started to try to get you to come in so we could see if a third person
make the difference.
Would actually make a difference. Yeah. It might make it worse. I don't know. I've spent a lot of time just working on going places that you wouldn't normally find by looking them up. You still got to get through them. To find materials to make my ghost stronger and to make myself stronger.
I still, I got the spirit bell and I still have not used it. I always forget that it exists. Whenever somebody attacks me, I just blank that I have that.
There's some serious good ones. The one that I have is one of the easiest ones to get, and it's not the wolves and it's not the jellyfish because you get those pretty easily. Yeah. It's Godric soldiers.
Told me about
those soldiers. I've got them built up to level 4 now.
And
they do damage, but most of all, the most important thing is shield. They absorb.
Yeah.
And they don't get taken out really quick. I'll tell you, I beat a couple things and Cameron's like, "You beat that?" I was like, "Shut up."
Your magic, does it regenerate over time or is it only via the flask?
Only the flask, but I think there are some things that you can find, some not medallions, whatever they're called, that
increase it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that will also make them replenish. I've got a health one.
Yeah.
That will replenish my health.
All right, wrapping up hour number 2. Dolly Parton has graciously bowed out of her nomination to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She said, she effectively said, I'm not a rock and roll artist, right? She said, I hope the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will understand and be willing to consider me again if I'm ever worthy. This has, however, inspired me to put out a hopefully great rock and roll album at some point in the future, which I've always wanted to do. My husband is a total rock and roll freak and has always encouraged me to do one. I wish all of the nominees good luck and thank you again for the compliment. She said, quote, I don't feel that I have earned that right. I really do not want votes to be split because of me, so I must respectfully bow out. She said, there is nothing more rock and roll that Dolly could do besides say, I'm not rock and roll, don't put me in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's rock and roll as it gets. Love Dolly. Dolly 2024, make America rock and roll again. Love it. All right, we got some more sports coming up. It's going to be a packed hour 3, so stick around for it on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
So a 49ers free agent guard, Laken Tomlinson, is going to sign with the Jets. Why would you sign with the Jets? Got to be money. Why in the world would you go to the Jets from the 49ers? Money. From the 49ers, it got to be money. Or you really like the East Coast, I guess. That's just crazy to me. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl odds went from plus 2,800 to plus 750. That's a pretty good turnaround, I'm thinking. Incarnate Word. So we do get to do the one thing we've got to discuss, attire for such a thing. Because I mean, I want to be representative, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know.
I'll be ordering my Paul White shirt on Express.
I don't know. Is that kind of do you go? I mean, do you interview a guy with his shirt on?
Is that the same as going to the show in the T-shirt of the band whose show you're going to?
Yeah, I don't know. I get, in the end, who cares? I guess, but I'm not worried about.
I brought it up to our boss, and basically what he said was, as long as it doesn't interrupt our coverage of another event,
which it wouldn't. I don't see why it would.
It depends on what day it is. Like if it's Wednesday after the show, no problem. If it's Thursday, it might be an issue depending on how much of the practices he wants me to be at, since we're not on the air.
He's not. Yeah, I mean,
we'll find out. Once they tell me the time it's available, I'll go find out.
He's going to say, send Lonzo by himself. And no.
What?
He'll say, send Lonzo by himself. No.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, I'll do it. But
I won't do it without you.
Yeah, okay.
But you won't do it without me either.
I'll do it if they tell me I have to, but I won't like it.
Right. No, you won't. All right, kids, here we go. The third, the final, the best, the money hour. The Rob Brown Show goes now. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. What's happening? Good to be with you. I am Rob, the great man Lonzo, on the other side of a glass today. A lot of stuff to talk about in this hour of the show. It's not Fight Club Thursday, but we do have some wrestling talk coming up here in just a minute. Because some not great stuff happening to two of our favorite wrestlers and some really good stuff happening elsewhere that we're going to talk about. But before we get to any of that, couple of little stories that maybe not necessarily worthy of an entire segment, but I wanted to bring them up anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, LeBron James is the greatest basketball player in the history of the sport. I stand by that. I've stood by that for a while, and he continues to do it. The longevity is as impressive as anything else. Y'all, LeBron James is like 37 years old. All right. In the NBA world, that's old. Like old. Here we go, Lonzo. It is time to play the Rob Brown Show Home Edition. Can you name me all the players that have achieved 10,000 points, 10,000 assists, and 10,000 rebounds in their career? Name me all the players that have gone 10,000 points, assists, and rebounds.
All right, I'm used to trick questions, so I'm just going to say LeBron James.
That's correct. Lonzo's picking up on my methodology, my processes.
He'll change it around. I mean, that's what you got to do.
Gotten too predictable. One player in the history of the NBA has accomplished reaching the plateau of 10K rebounds, assists, and points.
Yeah, but do we apply the same logic as we were applying earlier when it comes to Popovich? This is just a matter of him. I know it's not, but is this just a matter of him being around as long as he has been? There's been other players that have been around.
I mean, you got to be in the league 17 years if you're going to do it. But here's the thing. Name me the guys that have been in the league at 37, right? I bet you that list is almost as short. Being able to keep yourself physically in shape, mentally in shape, and performing enough that teams will still give you that size contract is not easy. The list of guys in the league at 37 is short. In fact, I'm going to look it up. I know LeBron's in it. Let's see. As of right now, the oldest guys in the league as it stands right now, let's see. Let's look them all up. Guys over 37. There has actually been a decent list of guys that played until they were 40, but it's not very many, and the majority of them did not really have the career. Here's the best players. Robert Parrish did it. He played until 1997. 43 years old when he quit. Vince Carter was over 43. Dikembe Mutombo, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Udonis Haslem, Bob Cousy, these are not all of them. These are just the notable ones. John Stockton, Karl Malone, Dirk Nowitzki, Manu Ginobili, Jason Terry, Grant Hill, Jamal Crawford, Charles Oakley, Juwan Howard, Steve Nash, Michael Jordan, Jason Kidd, Tim Duncan, all did it. None of those guys were putting up 35 a game like LeBron's doing right now.
And I would say probably maybe 95% of those guys are household names and probably Hall of Famers.
Yeah. How many guys in the league are older than LeBron James right now, Lonzo? Total in the league, how many older than LeBron James?
2.
There are 3, very close. One of them's on his team. Older than him by about 210 days is Carmelo Anthony. Older than him by a little over a year? Nope, sorry, a little under a year, about 11 months is Andre Iguodala. And older than him by 4 years is the still active Udonis Haslem. See it. Would you take Iguodala, Anthony, or Haslem over LeBron James? Nope.
No.
Nope. Not at all. Paul Millsap, PJ Tucker, Chris Paul. Chris Paul is 36, almost 37. Taj Gibson, Trevor Ariza, LaMarcus Aldridge, Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo, Kyle Lowry, George Hill, Goran Dragic, Garrett Temple, Al Horford, Rudy Gay, Jeff Green, Wesley Matthews, Lou Williams, and James Johnson. Those are all the players that are 35 or older. And ain't none of them doing what Bron's doing, right? Ain't nobody doing what Bron's doing at this point. Texter says, nobody has done the 10K longevity prize. However, MJ played 82 and averaged 20 at 39. When's the last time LaFlop James played 82? Didn't LaFlop just win a championship, Lonzo, or am I dreaming?
I believe that was last year.
All right, just making sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Just making sure LaFlop still won titles, and he did. And he did. Look.
With 3 different teams.
It's the game management
as
discussion.
the guy
As
on
the
3
guy.
different teams.
Yeah. LaFlop, still a really good player. I know that people hate game management, right? Time management, whatever they call it. Load management. That's the word. Load management. I don't care. At the end of the day, what is the job of an NBA team? It's to win a title, right? Like, entertain us is the byproduct. But the goal of an NBA team is to win a title. And if LeBron's going to go put up 35, but he needs to take a load off the knees, and it's going to get him to be playing at 42, 43 years old, who cares, right? Like, he's doing his job. Not right now because the Lakers suck. But it's not on him. Well, LeBron's going out and getting score lines like 32, 9, and 7 on a routine basis. You going to put the L's at the foot of LeBron? That's Russell Westbrook, baby. Who, by the way, said his family doesn't come to Lakers games anymore because they're tired of hearing Lakers fans yell Westbrook at him every time he, shoots up a brick. Maybe stop doing that, Russ. It's a good way to stop being called Westbrook. Stop Westbrooking. It's pretty easy stuff, I thought. The only player in NBA history to go 10K, 10K, 10K in the top 3 stats is LeBron. Texas says LeBron is the biggest flopper of all time. If he hears a fan pass gas, he falls to the floor. Better yet, gets the call. Is that a LeBron problem or is that an NBA problem?
Sounds like a hate problem on the texter.
Yeah. You're mad at the NBA. You shouldn't be mad at LeBron. You should be mad at the NBA.
You should be mad at every superstar in the NBA who flops or who complains and whines every time they think they get a foul. I mean, that's on the league itself for allowing that, and it's league wide. It's not just one guy doing it.
Give you one quick comparison. This is like the guys who get really mad at Hot Take Express radio show host, right? But keep listening. You see what I'm saying? You can get mad at the guy on the radio who rolls all the hot takes. You get mad at the guy on the radio who makes up stories and rolls the hot takes. But if you keep tuning in every day, why are you going to be mad at him? It's clearly working, right? Clearly working. By the way, can you give me clip 2? Because I'm gonna stall for a second here. Josh Pate of Late Kick, who I am a big fan of, he does segments with Mark Ryan once a week, and they're phenomenal. Some of the best radio Mark does, because Josh is incredible. Love the guy.
Who I'm told by him can sing the alto part on Kiss from a Rose.
I would have him on the show just for that.
That's what he said on Twitter.
Just for that.
Yeah.
Josh Pate laid down a take on the Hot Take Express. And Josh Pate is better at this job than I am. All right. I'm pretty good at this job. But Josh Pate's better because he finally said more eloquently than I the way that I feel about the Hot Take Express and explained why the show is the way it is. Here's what Josh had to say about Hot Take Artists.
If you understand how to think correctly and clearly, you've already set yourself apart from 95% of the crowd. And therefore, if you understand how to think clearly and correctly, and then you speak from the heart, you don't have to be coming up with what you think is going to be controversial or you think is going to be an edgy set of opinions. Your natural opinions will set themselves apart from the crowd. You can go about getting attention one of two ways. You can either do the hot take thing, which is going to wear off. That's like a sugar high. Or you can learn to observe instead of just watch. It's a key part. If you want to make it in this business, if you want to be a professional in our business, I think one of the most underrated and key aspects is observational, watching and listening, as opposed to just passive watching and listening. Anyone can sit on a couch and watch a football game. Can you observe it? Therefore, ingesting it through different filters, which leads to content creation. That's the name of the game.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you so much. Thank you for saying it the way that I've never been able to come up with. Thank you for putting it out there. The reason this show is the way that this show is, the reason Zoe and I do the show the way we do the show is because I don't feel like we need to come up with hot takes to get listeners. I feel like Lonzo and I just approach sports from our own perspective, think out what is the ramifications of the stories we're talking about, and it creates its own set of topics, right? Creates its own set of topics. I think Josh was fantastic with his take. We don't need to do hot takes on this show, and we don't need to do hot takes because the stuff that Lonzo and I come up with just by approaching sports from a genuine perspective, from the perspective of sports fans who love sports and care about sports and enjoy sports, creates content that we don't really have to sit here and come up with contrived takes. That's all I had. That's the only reason I wanted to play that audio, is because I think being genuine on the mic is the best way to do it. It's not for everybody. And there are guys who have made a lot of money being hot take artists because it works too. But the reason that Lonzo and I show sound the way that Lonzo and I show sounds is because, as far as we're concerned, just being genuine and having a passion for sports brings you to places that you can't get to if all you do is go, here's the thing that happened. How can I be the most controversial about it? I don't need to. We come up with genuine opinions. Sometimes they're controversial. Sometimes they're not. But they're genuine. And I like it. Thank you, Josh. Well said. Appreciate that. All right. What else we got? Let me get a couple more stories in here before we head to this first break of the hour. $3.1 billion. 3.1 bill. That's a lot of money. And that, according to ESPN, is roughly how much Americans will wager on the March Madness tournament. According to research from the American Gaming Association that was released in a report yesterday, an estimated 45 million people will combine to wager about $3.1 million on the NCAA tournament through bracket pools and wagers with sportsbooks and friends. The $3.1 billion amount is approximately 3 times more than how much was estimated to have been bet on this year's Super Bowl with U.S. sportsbooks. The AGA's estimates based on a national survey of over 2,200 adults conducted by a consultation firm during the first week of March. So you got about 20, I'm bad at math, let's call it 17% of Americans will lay down a bet on March. And those 17% of Americans will put about $3.1 billion in the kitty. What's interesting to me about that, Zoe, is I honestly thought that number would be higher. I thought it would be higher. 45. You consider the fact that of 330-ish million Americans, about 35, 40% of them are kids, right? So let's say there's 210 million eligible to gamble in the United States should they elect to do so. So you're looking at 23, 24% maybe, a little bit less, 20%, 19% of people eligible to gamble who put money down. I thought that number would be higher in terms of number of people gambling, but $3.1 billion getting put into the sports books is not a number to sneeze at.
I think the question would be how many of those other people who haven't want to but are smart enough to go, yeah, I never win. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna keep that money.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming up tomorrow at 1:30, Joe Giglio of BetQL is going to join us on the show, and we are going to run you down our March Madness betting guide. I got some teams I like, some blue bloods I think are Final Four threats. I got a couple of underdogs and Cinderellas. And by the way, I think there's a potential Cinderella sitting right here in Greenville in the opening round of the tournament. I think Davidson is a dangerous team in the first round. I think here's what's going to be interesting. I think Davidson can knock off Sparty in the first round. And either Davidson or Michigan State, I think, becomes a big threat to Duke in the second round. I don't think Cal State Fullerton is equipped to give Duke a game, but I think the second round game, we could see a 10-2 knockout happening. It's a real possibility. We'll talk with Joe Giglio tomorrow at 1:30 about whether the Greenville bracket has a maybe a betting underdog you might want to throw some coin at. Texas says the most controversial hot take you and Zoe have ever said is that a hot dog does not come standard with mustard, chili, and onion when it obviously does. Why are we still doing this? Why are we still doing this? That's a chili dog. Okay? That's a chili dog.
All right, breaking news, but this is breaking news in baseball. Because
that one?
Yeah. Atlanta and Oakland are in agreement on a trade that will send star first baseman Matt Olson to the Braves. And let's see, Oakland will receive all outfielder Christian
Pache?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I get where you're going.
Yeah. Catcher Shea Langoliers.
Okay.
SP. What's SP?
Starting pitcher.
Starting pitcher. Okay. Ryan Kuzik and starting pitcher Joey Estes. And let's see. Yeah, that's it. Okay. That's still a lot, but yeah.
So Christian Pache goes to Oakland. The Braves get a first baseman, which means, ladies and gentlemen, Freddie Freeman is a New York Yankee. That's what that means. That means the Braves have realized they're not getting a deal done, which is interesting. Freddie put his once on the table. The Braves offered him, according to Mark Ryan, about 82% of what he asked for. And I promise you, the Yankees and the Dodgers both will give Freddie exactly the contract he wants, which is fine. Look, Freddie's a good player. Statistically speaking, he's above average. The reason you pay Freddie is the leadership, the charisma, right? You pay Freddie because he's a guy that Braves fans love and support. You pay Freddie because he's a guy that owns that locker room and guys listen to him. But if you just need numbers, you can get a cheaper first baseman who's going to put up similar, maybe not quite as good, but similar numbers. Remember, because I've told this to Braves fans, as much as you want Freddie back, The contract that Freddie's asking for is enormous, all right? For a guy who is a statistically good player, but not a great one. But not a great one. Matt Olson coming from Oakland to Atlanta means that Freddie's gone, G-O-N, gone. All right? Because the Yanks or the Dodgers are going to give him the contract he wants. And that's okay because the Braves have Ronald Acuna Jr. Remember, the Braves made a run to the World Series last year without Ronnie, who was playing at MVP levels before his knee buckled. If Ronald Acuna Jr., if you had to choose right now to keep Ronnie Jr. or Freddie Freeman in the lineup and you're a Braves fan, and you say you keep Freddie over Ronnie Acuna Jr., I'm going to call you crazy. All right? Ronald Acuna Jr. is the guy you keep, and he's got a fat contract that's going to have to be renegotiated at some point. And if you tie up Freddie Freeman, who wanted a 10-year contract in his early 30s, right? You think Freddie's going to be hitting the ball the way that he's hitting the ball at 33 when he's 37? No. But he wants you to pay him for twice that long. Ronald Acuna Jr. is the way to go. So Matt Olson comes over, gives you a first baseman that you can hang on to, that is, by the way, younger, that is going to give you more time, more service time on that contract, and it lets you get set to pay Ronnie Acuna Jr. to be your staple for a long time. Olson is 27, 39 home runs with a 271, 371, 540 batting line, cut his strikeout rate drastically as a Gold Glove caliber defender, and remains under team control as an arbitration-eligible player through next season. Not this one, but next one. Freddie Freeman's going to the Dodgers. Matt Olson is coming to Atlanta. He's going to replace Freddie, and I think be able to do exactly what Freddie did statistically, and it opens up more money for Ronnie Jr. down the line. It's the right play. It's the right play. Texas says if a player like Chipper Jones or Freddie Freeman aren't willing to give the home team a slight discount, the benefit of not uprooting your whole family life, then let him go. Chipper stayed, and his legend will always be there because he did. Freddie will definitely regret this unless he wins rings. Lonzo, how many things would you do that you would regret for a $240 million contract to do something you enjoy doing on the reg?
Yeah, I would regret nothing.
Right.
For that amount, no.
Would you say a curse word on air for $230 million?
No, I would not.
Really?
No, I would not.
For $230 million?
All right, so money should not cause you to lose principles and rules of your life.
Ladies and gentlemen, the list of things I won't do for $230 million is pretty short. Pretty short. I will not intentionally hurt anybody else, verbally or physically. Pretty much anything out of that in the bag. Lonzo, would you run naked through a shopping mall for 5 minutes for $230 million?
Yeah, because I can go into hiding afterwards for $230 million yeah.
That super yacht off the coast of Jamaica sounds good.
I'll build a real compound for that.
Yeah, look, if Freddie's about the money, good on Freddie, right? He's towards the end of his career. If the Dodgers are going to give him the 10-year, $240 whatever million contract he wants, and Atlanta won't, take the money and run. Hoo-hoo-hoo. I ain't mad at you. But the Braves made a solid play getting Olson here. They gave up prospects for it. I'm good with that. Christian Pache is probably the only guy that's produced. And let's be real, the Braves are not hurting for outfielders right now. That's a good move. If you can get Jock Peterson re-signed, it's even better. Freddie got his ring in Atlanta. Now he's on the way out. It is what it is. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate. Excuse me, kids. I got to see if I got any water left.
Never understood why the fact that I don't curse is so important to people who do, that wants me to do it for some reason. People try to trick me into doing it all the time. I don't understand. Is it a test or is it? I don't get it, but that's fine.
It's not easy being the one everyone counts on to keep the facility running, no matter the weather or supply chain hiccup. But we get you, Raymond in Buffalo, and Maria in Miami, Jules in Minneapolis, and Stan in Central Indiana, taking control of everything.
Let's do E, Scott Hall. Any other wrestling must talks here, you think?
Other than the fact that we might be interviewing. Well, we are interviewing.
One for sure.
Well, another one pretty much for sure, too, when you make the phone call. They wouldn't give us the information if we weren't going to get that person.
No, I think that one's going to be more a week of the show interview if we get it. That was brought up as I said, by the way, if you have any other interviews like the week of the show to do one last ticket push, if you aren't sold out, we'll take anybody you want to give us whenever you want to give us. And he said, we may have potential for that interview that week. It's not for sure yet, he said, but I won't be able to tell you that until probably late next week.
Oh, you already called the guy?
I talked to him before the show.
Okay.
Because initially it was Phoner. And I said, can y'all do StreamYard? He said, yeah, we can do StreamYard. He said, he said, I know y'all are a little way outside of Columbia. He said, we're a little too far to come. He said, we'd come in studio, but it's just unfortunate.
See, we're talking about totally different.
Do what?
We're talking about a totally different.
Right, I'm talking about.
That's not who I'm talking about.
You're talking about the other potential one.
Which is not really a potential. I mean, we've been given the number.
Oh, no. Sorry, I'm talking about
yeah.
AEW. No, the other one I'm going to work on after the show. Yeah.
Because that one, we take any time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're close enough to that. We're less than a month away that we could push it. We could even make it where there's a possibility maybe we can get one of those guys on each weekly nut, maybe. Including maybe, even though I didn't put it on the list, one brother. Not the one who can't add, but the other one. So true wrestling fans know who I'm talking about.
Now, Scott, we won the trophy last year. There's 3 other stations of the competition. That gives us 33 and 1/3% chance to win. But then you put us in, there's a 25% chance, which means we got. What are our odds of winning that trophy again next year?
I am told he doesn't look like he used to, which is not surprising.
To find you the most profitable betting opportunities for each game. With BetQL's proven data and expert analysis, you'll know which bets to make and which ones to skip. Download the free BetQL app today.
And I'll just say their name just because FTR is still a possibility. Just like me walking out. It's still a possibility.
Silver unlimited plan from Straight Talk. Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
And I need to make a phone call today because there's it's not a possibility, it's happening. If I'm allowed to, I will be able to broadcast live down the hall from the con, because the one thing I was telling you about, they're going to do it in a smaller room, the drink and draw thing. And I have an idea to get a dedicated laptop just on the artist drawing, because I think that would be awesome. And it's all for charity, and it'd be cool. I just have to set that up, and we'll see if I can do it or not.
Colton just said he's in charge of his own interview, so he's going to come on. Love it. So, and I don't really know how to break this story because it kind of, it does kind of suck. It sucks. Kevin Nash sent out an Instagram story earlier that said that Scott Hall, who has been on life support after a massive complication from a hip surgery that he had as a result from a fall that he took not too long ago, has gone on life support. His family has gathered, and once they are all together, they will be removing Scott Hall from life support, at which point we will lose Razor Ramon. And, it's celebrity deaths are something that obviously we all kind of deal with in our own way. Some people don't care. Some people do. And I've always, there's celebrity deaths that you go, that's sad. There's celebrity deaths that you go, oh man, that's real sad. And then there's those that the athlete or the celebrity in question has kind of shaped who you are, right? And for me, Scott Hall, aka Razor Ramon, was one of those dudes, right? Like Razor, we talk about our favorite bad guys in wrestling, and Ric Flair's on that list for everybody. Scott Hall, I think, Zoe, is my favorite bad guy of all time, right? Because with Ric Flair had that air of arrogance about him, right? The limousine
Still
riding,
does.
jet flying, wheeling, dealing, kiss stealing, son of a gun. And even if you like that lifestyle or aspired to be Ric Flair, there was still that air of arrogance. MJF doing that better today than, heck, maybe even Ric Flair did it back in his day. But that wasn't Scott Hall's version of bad guy, right? Scott Hall's version of bad guy was, I'm me. I am the definition of cool, and I don't really care if you like me or not, right? Like, for all intents and purposes, the attitude that Scott Hall has is an attitude we should, or was an attitude and character that we should have all aspired to have. I don't care what you think is cool and don't. I am cool. I'm cool. Hey, yo. The dude was the best at just being cool, regardless of what you thought about him.
And first glance, he's slimy, he's greasy looking. He comes in, he's got that toothpick, and then he starts talking. It's like, okay, yeah, I don't want to mess with him.
Yeah. I mean, all that wasn't grease and oil, Alonzo. That was machismo oozing off of Razor Ramon, aka Scott Hall. But on top of that, on top of being that character, that he was just cool, right? He was just cool. And he didn't care if you thought he was cool. He knew he was cool. And that, in fact, made him cool, which worked out just fine. But as a dude, and look, all these guys have a dark side. We all have a dark side. We all have, except Lonzo. It was perfect. Outside of that.
Yeah, I'm definitely not perfect, so stop it.
Outside of that, as far as wrestling goes, Scott Hall was the anti-Hulk Hogan, right? Like, I don't like Hulk Hogan, and I've never liked Hogan because Hogan made himself more important than everybody else. Did you know there probably isn't a Chris Jericho without Scott Hall, right? Because when Jericho first broke into WCW and was a relatively unknown guy, Scott Hall, to the chagrin of Eric Bischoff at the time, put Chris Jericho over, let Jericho beat him multiple times, knowing that I am always going to be Razor Ramon. I'm always going to be the coolest guy in the ring. But there's some young bucks out there that deserve to be elevated to the next level, and he made Chris Jericho one of those guys. Somebody put together a supercut of Scott Hall putting young guys over. And there were guys on that list that are genuine bona fide stars today that may not have ever gotten over and elevated to where they are if it was not for Razor Ramon being willing to lay down for those guys, put those guys over. He always said the business is better when guys aren't in business for themselves. There was another guy who put a story up after that announcement came. There was another guy who put a story up who said, Zoe, that he worked back when Razor Ramon was at his peak, and back when WCW guys would do independent shows still. He said that he ran a show one time that Razor Ramon was booked at. And he said that Razor Ramon showed up. Now this was an independent show. And what would happen was the independent wrestlers would be the ones who were also the caretakers for the big stars, the booked guys that would come in. And he said that him and one other wrestler were basically in charge of Razor Ramon, right? Like when they booked him. And he said, we picked him up from the airport. We were his ride all weekend. We took him out to the dinner. We got him the show, whatever. He said that Razor Ramon, when he showed up, paid for every gallon of gas that went in their car from the moment he picked him up to the moment they dropped him to the airport, paid for every meal, paid to get those guys' gear back into shape for a good show, took care of all of it. And when he said, you don't have to do all this, Razor said, yeah, I do. This is how we make the business better. We have been taken care of, so now we take care of who comes next, right? Now, Razor struggled. He had his addiction issues. He had that almost cost him his life years ago. I remember at one point, there was footage of Scott Hall effectively having to be wheeled through the airport by Kevin Nash because he was too incoherent to take care of himself, right?
And then I believe, like a lot of other guys, he got with DDP.
Yep. Got with DDP. Knew he had an issue. Worked to resolve those issues. Man, Scott Hall was a genuinely good guy who had his demons like everybody else, right? And they got a hold of him for all. When you become rich and your vice becomes easy access, you can just tell anybody, I want this drug, I want that, this, I want this, that, and they bring it to you without asking because you've got the money to make it happen, and you are able to fight through that demon to get to a better place. That is commendable.
And you can't think of Scott Hall without thinking NWO and thinking of what that did to the wrestling business, what that sparked as far as the competition of the war between WCW and WWE. When he and Nash invaded WCW, it was so real, and this was before the internet. It was so real that a lot of people thought they really are coming over there. They really are interrupting. They really are doing what they're saying they're doing, to the point where it was big time news everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I watched wrestling when I was real young with my pops, right? Like we watched the old regional stuff when Ric Flair was Ric Flair. We watched it, but I hadn't really gotten into the big stuff until the invasion, until the NWO showed up. I knew of Sting and Hogan and Andre and all these guys from my childhood, but I didn't really pay attention to mainstream wrestling until Scott Hall and Razor Ramon, the outsiders, showed up, and then the NWO formed and the invasion started and all that. And that's when I got into wrestling. He is a part of the reason I'm a wrestling fan, and he is a part of the reason why when you guys go, Rob, why do you guys talk wrestling on the show? To channel my inner Scott Hall, Lonzo, because it's cool and I want to.
And I would tell Rob and I genuinely are excited every time we get to talk to a wrestler, whether they're new school or old school, because for me, that's my childhood. And that was the time that I got to spend with my papaw. The only times that it's one thing that we definitely could connect. There's such an age difference because he was so much older, but he loved wrestling. He got me into that, and I've stayed into it. And it's a shame to see this go down the way it did.
It's an unfortunate reality of life.
And
right?
there's also the fact every time you go in to have a surgery, you don't know what could happen afterwards.
Yeah, it's
a scary deal.
Death is a part of life, unfortunately, and sometimes it comes too early. And Scott Hall, for a guy that, again, at one point was having to have his friends wheel him through airports because he was too incoherent to walk, talk, and get on an airplane. The guy rebounded. And he got back, and he had been working for a while in WWE and propping up young talent and teaching them how to be a good bad guy. because he was the bad guy. And as Scott Hall once said, bad times don't last. Bad guys do. Hey, yo. Man, R.I.P. to Razor Ramon, a.k.a. Scott Hall. Dude made it cool to be cool by just being cool and will forever be that guy to me. R.I.P. Scott Hall. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute. Got one or two more small sports stories to run through. Then it's Twitter trending topics to wrap it all up. We'll tell you that we have confirmation. South Carolina quarterback Colton Gothier is going to be joining us on the show in the next couple of days to talk some music and football with us. Sent a tweet out about him playing that virtual concert earlier, and he's like, dude, I want to come on your show and talk music. So Colton's going to come on the show, and we're going to talk guitars and rock and roll music. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate.
I don't know if you saw Jason's on the line.
I did not, but I'll come to him next.
ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. He plans to sign a 2-year deal with the Steelers. He'll compete for the starting job with Mason Rudolph. Texans QB Deshaun Watson is expected to meet in the next 48 hours with the Panthers and Saints, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. The number of teams pursuing Watson increased Friday when a grand jury in Houston declined to indict him on 10 criminal complaints alleging sexual assault and inappropriate conduct. Watson is still facing 22 civil lawsuits. The NHL suspended Maple Leaf star Austin Matthews 2 games for cross-checking in the loss to Buffalo.
An Odyssey station.
If you're suffering every day with joint pain, stop it. You can get real lasting relief now with natural biologic treatments at QC Kinetics. Hey, it's Charlie James, and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue with no surgery, no drugs. This is the relief you've been hoping for your aching knees, hips, shoulder, lower back. The unique protocols at QC Kinetics were created by a physician with years of study in regenerative restorative medicine. They're treating patients every day in hundreds of clinics nationwide with remarkable success. Life-changing results with zero downtime. It's the new, better, smarter, non-surgical, non-invasive way to deal with joint pain. Yes, they're right here, ready to help you right now. Call them for a free consultation. Make this spring and summer the best ever. No joint pain holding you back. QC Kinetics, Greenville and Dallas, 864-448-3772. That's 864-448-3772. QC Kinetics. No one wants to come.
Because I'm nice and someone's helping me out and I heard what he's doing right now, I'm not going to throw a bottle.
Oh.
So according to a lot of different sites, Jarvis Landry wants to go to the Chiefs.
Oh, hooray. That's all y'all need is another speed weapon on the outside.
I was going to say, I'm okay with it, but
Yeah, I would be too.
they might be losing Honey Badger, though. Probably are.
I'd say that's a solid pickup.
We'll lose the Honey Badger, but he might be going to the Raiders from what I'm seeing.
You know who's put in a lot of work towards getting him there and who he has been interacting with the current DB room on Twitter with regularity the last few days. The other day, he put up something to Courtney Gardner-Johnson, and CJGJ responded to him and said, listed our 3 current starting DBs and said, this guy, this guy, this guy, and Honey Badger, there's never been a better defensive backfield. And Honey Badger retweeted it and liked it and then followed them all. And then Lattimore was like, hey, I think it was Lattimore was like, I'm going to DM you my phone number. Holler at me. And Tyrann sent him a thumbs up back. So I don't know. I don't know how the hell the Saints have room to add anybody else. I don't know how they have room to add Deshaun if they decide to go that direction, but
At Magda's Tax Prep, every person counts. She needs new auditors to maximize returns on her family time. Indeed can help her hire great people fast. Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with
Okay, I'm just seeing that Frank Martin is gone, but I need a credible source.
so we have just gotten a tweet. You know what, Lonzo? Get the glass because I've got the source you were looking for. South Carolina men's basketball has just parted ways with Frank Martin. John Rothstein has just reported. He is a college basketball insider for CBS Sports. He has just tweeted out less than 7 minutes ago that South Carolina has parted ways with Frank Martin after South Carolina failed to make the NIT, which is interesting, by the way, because South Carolina had a better season and won twice head-to-head with Vanderbilt, but the Commodores made the NIT and the Gamecocks did not. And apparently that was enough to be the last straw to break the camel's back, as according to John Rothstein, and I'm looking to source it to other places, but according to John Rothstein, South Carolina has fired Frank Martin. There are a number of other South Carolina related blogs and whatnot that have tweeted out the same information at this point. But Frank Martin, according to John Rothstein of CBS Sports, is now out as the head coach of the South Carolina men's basketball team. We're going to keep an eye on that. There is some smoke out there that Frank Martin has already gotten some other coaching opportunities out there. There are some tweets that are saying that he has already been in communication with other places. We have not seen anything come out of Frank Martin's Twitter account yet. His last tweet is a week ago from March 7th. But again, John Rothstein reporting that Frank Martin is out as the head coach at South Carolina, which I got to say, really not all that shocking, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm seeing it reported a ton of places, including Big Spur, Gamecock, a lot of Gamecock sites. And yeah, so I'm guessing it's not really a surprise, though. I the last time that the NCAA tournament was here is when South Carolina went on that run, and that was an amazing thing. But since then, they haven't done anything.
Yeah. In the past decade, they have been to the NCAA tournament one time. In the SEC tournament this year, they got boat raced by a decent, but not great, but decent Mississippi State team. The non-conference losses have piled up, some of them really bad ones.
All right, the state newspaper is just
Yeah,
said
it's
it.
so
there
it's
we
done.
go.
It's done. Frank Martin is out as the head basketball coach for the men's basketball team at the University of South Carolina, which again, no real shock to me. I think that this year Frank needed to make a statement. I don't think he did, right? I don't think he did. Had a decent team, but you didn't even make it to the NIT. Don't get me wrong. I think there's some argument. I think there's some argument that South Carolina should have made the NIT. I think there's some argument that South Carolina deserved to be in the NIT. In fact, there are a couple of teams, again, Vanderbilt included, that I think I can make a real compelling argument that South Carolina should have gone in ahead of, right? But at the end of the day, was the NIT good enough for Frank Martin to keep his job. I think between the excitement that is going on under Shane Beamer and the football team, the dominance of women's college basketball by Dawn Staley and the women's side, I think that the expectations for what South Carolina needed to do on the men's side, I think the expectations were frankly higher than an NIT berth, and they didn't even get that. So no real shock here. Let's take a break. Your thoughts, 71307, the preferred home services text line. Start your text with ESPN. We'll read them on the air. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show, ESPN Upstate.
Hey, man.
Look how much different Lonzo looks, ladies and gentlemen. Got a haircut in the break.
You can't teach handsome.
You either got it or you don't.
I'm the new Batman villain, microphone face.
They were really not clever when they named villains back in the day.
No. They were like, can we work alliteration into the name?
All right, so
let's
he's a
absolutely
man,
go with that.
And he has a sword. What should we call him?
Swordman.
That's a real one, by the way.
Is it?
That's a real one.
Can he turn it? Can somebody grab him by the feet and turn him into a sword?
No, he just has a sword.
I always joke when I play Spoonman from Soundgarden. I was like, that is Marvel's
next Superman.
crappiest superhero. He can only put out fires a little bit at a time. Yeah, exactly. Putting out fires, 1 tablespoon at a time. I'm going to say it. Spoon's underserved in rock and roll. The fact that that song has a spoon solo is pretty dope.
Does it really?
Yeah. When was the last time you heard Spoonman?
Clearly not recently enough.
Yeah, there's a spoon solo. I mean, it's like that Jackal song, Lumberjack. It's got a chainsaw solo. We need more of that too.
Dolly Parton said today she wants to put out a rock and roll album, and I am here for it. I want Dolly doing.
There's two things I want Dolly Parton to put out.
Welcome Diesel to the stream, ladies and gentlemen.
Look, Dolly might be 80, but those things are 15. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Don't worry. That's
Don't
only
like-
recorded on the internet
I
forever.
don't like how that came out of my mouth.
It's only recorded on the internet forever.
Here's what's happening on the internet. Let's see what Rob Brown knows about it. Topic number 1 is Matt Olson.
Matt Olson, the newest first baseman of the Atlanta Braves, ladies and gentlemen. The Freddie Freeman era is probably more than likely over. Matt Olson traded to the Braves for an absolute haul of prospects earlier today, including Christian Pasha, the outfielder. That means that I would suspect either the New York Yankees or the LA Dodgers, I'm leaning LA, are going to end up with Freddie Freeman. Look, Freddie wanted a big bag for really good, but not incredible numbers. Matt Olson's numbers are right in line with Freddie Freeman's. 39 dingers last year, batted about 260, 250 somewhere, if I recall off the top of my head correctly. If you're going to lose Freddie Freeman, Matt Olson is a really good pickup to replace him and frees up money to re-sign Ronald Acuna Jr., which I got to tell you, is the priority over Freddie Freeman, as cool as it's been to have Freddie Freeman there.
I hate baseball. Next up, Trubisky.
Welcome back.
Is
Diesel.
trending.
Welcome back. Mitchell Trubisky, now your starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was sent out to Pitt earlier today. Trubisky's name got really hot around combine time as a potential starter. I got to tell you, I think Trubisky still got potential. Look, we got proven.
Oh, you're one of those
this year.
guys.
No, listen, hear me out on this because I think I got a point. We got proven earlier this year by a cat named Matt Stafford, right? That sometimes the franchise can hold back talent, right? Matt Stafford toiled in Detroit for 3 playoff wins, or excuse me, for no playoff wins in like 3 appearances over years. Shows up in LA, a team that built around the quarterback. What did he do in his first year? No big deal. Got a ring, right? And yes, they had a great defense that carried it a lot. But Stafford had guys chirping in his ear all year about how he was never going to be anything. Now he's got a ring. I believe that your situation I believe that quarterbacks in Chicago are being held back by a franchise that does not understand how to help them grow. He goes to Buffalo, where Josh Allen exploded as an AFC MVP candidate. And of course he wasn't going to shine under that. Now he's got a chance. I'm not saying he's going to win a Super Bowl in Pittsburgh, but I'm saying don't be surprised next year if Trubisky isn't labeled your NFC Comeback Player of the Year.
Next up, it is hashtag Pi Day.
It is Pi Day. How many digits you got?
3.14159.
I couldn't tell you if that's right or not. I couldn't tell you if that's right or not. But it is Nerd Day for all you math nerds out there. Happy Pi Day, 3.14 day. And also, Diesel, an excuse for me to go eat a pie after the show, and I think I will.
The
By
big
way,
one was 2015. It was Galactic Pi Day because you got the extra 0.15.
That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
you got the extra 2 digits.
Here's my question about Pi Day. Pie or cake, what is the superior dessert? You only get one for the rest of your life. You're going pie or cake?
You get all types of pie and all types
all
of cake.
types of pie, all types of cake. What are you going with?
Oh, I think I'm going with pie.
I think you're right.
I think I'm going with pie.
I think you're
Both are good. There's no wrong answer to
Right.
this. Both are delicious.
I think I go pie, right? Because it opens you up to all the different fruits.
You get shepherd's pie. You get
stays on the table.
one that starts with a P and rhymes with schmoontang pie. You get that too?
Thank you, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, making his appearance at the end of the show. That's it for us. Diesel sticking around with Mark Ryan for all sides. I am taking my happy butt home. Y'all have a great rest of your Monday. We're back tomorrow to try all over again on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate. Later, brother.
If I'm dying for a word, then my word is poon.
Bye, stream. Diesel might